You're watching the Comm Syndicate live stream.
It's 11:59 on Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall.
Okay. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
John has a long mustache.
John does have a long mustache. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. Thank you. And Reno is burning.
Yeah, parts of it anyway.
Parts of it, yeah.
I guess looks like we already got some people jumping on. So welcome to the live stream. We've got Jared from 2 Alpha Solutions, and Drew is out on a call somewhere, the terminal element. He may pop in with us at some point. If he can spare some time, then he'll certainly jump on. But for those of you watching who are active on amateur radio, you can send us comments or questions via JSA call. I've got my machine and my radio fired up. So today we could probably do, it looks like 20 meters is good. So I'll just throw that down at the bottom and turn our comments on. Bobby Bama, good evening. I hope all is well.
Oh, Bobby Bama.
Indeed. But today was just kind of a sort of an impromptu one. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot of just natural disasters going on. I guess, Jared, you've got a storm rolling through, don't you?
We did. It came in like really hard and fast, and then ended up being a whole lot of nothing.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good.
It blew in. The power was flickering here probably 30 minutes before the storm hit, which is very unusual.
Wow.
And then right before the storm hit, we got a lot of really high winds for about 2 minutes. We're at a point where I thought we're going to start losing trees in the backyard. And then all of a sudden it just stopped, and it rained for about 10 minutes very calmly and just left.
Well, that's like the best outcome you can have.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, yesterday, so I really didn't think anything of it until the smoke plume got bigger. But I was just out in the yard in the back. I was mowing my yard, and then I just put a little kind of just a short on YouTube and Instagram, just saying, friendly reminder that SHTF can come in a lot of forms, and it could be in a lot of different forms for a lot of different people, depending on where you live. For you right now, like, it was almost a storm. For us, it was a wildfire. For other people, it's earthquakes and hurricanes. But that turned into a pretty big wildfire fairly quickly.
Was that yesterday already, or was that day before yesterday?
That was Saturday, so
Okay.
Day before yesterday. Yesterday was kind of a day of limbo, but I thought, maybe we'd do just kind of this impromptu stream, just kind of while some things are fresh in my head, because there were some lessons learned for sure.
I'm sure,
and I thought it, might be helpful to kind of share some of that stuff, because we talk about this stuff all the time, and
And
when
it happened really fast for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember you sent the message out that hey, there's a fire, and you showed us your little video clip.
Yeah.
Of the smoke in the mountains there, and like 2 minutes later, you messaged us back and said, "Hey, we have to evacuate now."
Yeah, I that's what I was saying, is I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't think it was going to turn into an evacuation at all. And as the plume got bigger, like, the wind started picking up. It was very dry. It's been in the 90s here. It's been extremely dry. A lot of wind. I've had a few people message me just asking, how did that happen so quickly? And I really do think it's just because of the conditions that very dry. There's
Dry
stuff,
and windy.
there's fuel to burn, and it's very windy, but it moves so quickly that after I put that video up, I walked in the house and I was talking to my wife, and I said, "Come out and look at this," and we looked at it for a second, and we both came to the conclusion that it was probably a good idea to leave, and we hastily grabbed all of our stuff. Let me grab a radio real quick. Hang on one second. Sorry.
Sure.
Sorry about that. I've got a few of my radios going right now because the fire's still going on. And I'll show you real quick. Let's see. So this is Watch Duty. Definitely a very good source of information that I was using at the time, still using it. But this is where I'm at. I live in Cold Springs. I know, OPSEC, right? I shouldn't tell you where I live, but that's where I live. I live right in Cold Springs.
I think we know where you live.
Right. Well, there's people that would shame me for poor OPSEC, but whatever. I'm not hiding from anyone.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it started right back in here, and it was kind of interesting because I watched on Watch Duty how they were tracking it fairly accurate, and very slowly they started telling people, get set to evacuate, really just kind of in little sections here. And then mine was one of the last. There's an area down here that I think, I don't know if they ever evacuated. Let's see, I think it may be down here, but there's some folks that I don't think had to evacuate that were a little bit closer to the lake. Everyone else did. Moved very, very quickly. And as you can see right now, it has spread. And Reno, because you've been here, this is out in, looks like it's spreading out to like Moon Rocks. Jumped all the
Pyramid Lake there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Pyramid Lake. And let's see. Yeah, there's like Moon Rocks that's out there. Sparks is the next town over. Winnemucca
Isn't
Ranch
that the area they have
Road.
Burning Man? Or is that to the east of the lake?
That's way out here in Black Rock.
Okay. I couldn't
Black
remember.
Rock's somewhere out here. Or
You go to
maybe
that
it's
every
over
year,
here.
don't you?
No, sir. I do not. But I do go to this area sometimes and go. There's places to go shooting and stuff out here. But anyway, yeah, it happened very quickly. And what we ended up doing is we hopped in the RV, and as soon as we jumped in the RV, we started cruising down White Lake Road here, which is right along this little blue line here. And then we just went to the next stop over, which is Red Rock, and hung out in a little parking lot there for a little bit. And as we were driving down White Lake, that's when the evacuate go now notices came. The sheriff came flying down White Lake pretty quickly. I don't know. I assume they go door to door. You'd know better about that than I would in a situation like that. Did you ever have to go door to door to evacuate people?
Not when I lived out there. No. I had to do it a few times here, just for little localized incidents.
And welcome, Bald Eagle. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, they came very quickly and started evacuating people. We were a little ahead of the curve because we're standing there looking at it from our backyard, and went down to the next exit, like I said. And then from there, we looked at a paper map, and we're deciding, well, where do we go? We ended up boondocking along North Virginia that night. And so when I did the live stream, you guys were watching this whole area on fire. And that was hard to watch because I know my house is right there, and right on the other side of that. But it jumped Red Rock at some point. And the real heartbreaking thing is that there's a lot of people's farms, a lot of livestock, horses, goats, everything you can think of that are out there. A lot of estates, and I don't know if we got spared. We got lucky. Fire
It was kind of
department.
moving easterly from your location there, wasn't it?
Yeah, the wind started, pushing it this direction to the east, where this yellow get set to evacuate is right now. But
is that a current map or is that a map from the other day?
This is right now. Yeah,
Okay.
This is everything that's on fire right now. And let's see, there's one other one.
Now, Saturday, when you sent us that message, I believe it was Saturday, there was a fire that started just to the west of Reno, just south of I-80.
Yeah, there's the Hunter fire.
Yeah, that one. I think that one was actually started by lightning, because you sent that message to us, and I looked on the weather radar,
right,
and there was a little storm cell that was right over that area that had just gone through that area.
When I got to Red Rock, that's when I found out, I think, about this Fred Mountain fire, and then the Hunter fire. I don't recall exactly. Everything's a little bit hazy at this point, because
right,
the last probably 48 hours have just kind of gelled together. But the Fred Mountain fire started. I think that's the one that really just kind of jumped over. I think that one jumped over Red Rock. But and down here, let's see, there's one other thing I wanted to kind of point out. Peavine Peak here, there is a SNARS, the Southern Nevada Amateur Radio Society. They have repeaters up there. They have a 2 meter, they have linked repeaters. And that was very helpful, because there were a lot of people that got on, a lot of other stations.
Direct line of sight to that repeater too.
Absolutely, yeah. And I reported what I saw, what was happening, and then other people were doing the same. But just the fact that you could jump on there, talk to other people, relay information, pass traffic, stuff like that, was very helpful. Because some of that, like, people were picking up information from, firsthand experience. So there's in this area, there are a ton of amateur radio operators, and everyone was doing a very good job of sharing what they knew, and trying to keep things accurate.
How was the radio traffic? Was it pretty congested?
No, it wasn't bad.
It was pretty orderly.
They did a good job. A tip of the cap to them. Also, to all the first responders. I mean, they fought this thing all night. They maintained this perimeter here. No one lost anything. I thought at least somebody was gonna, some of these sections here were gonna get hit, but they fucking held it down. I mean, good. They really did. NHP pretty much closed the roads, the 2 main entrances and exits to the area. But yeah, we ended up camping out here overnight on Virginia. Also, before I forget, there were a ton of people that reached out to me and stuff. Thank you. I really do appreciate everyone that did. It was very kind of everyone. But we camped out on Virginia, we boondocked it, and put together just a hasty live stream so you guys could kind of just see what was happening. And then that was about all I could do at that point. Some lessons learned. Let's get into that. So we got our RV a couple weeks ago, and the last couple weeks I've been spending quite a bit of time just kind of making some repairs, setting it up how I want. The intent wasn't necessarily like a bug out vehicle or anything. Nothing crazy like that. No Mad Max scenarios or anything. It was really just, my wife and I want to go on adventures with our dogs. Having said that, I did put all of my radio gear in there, and started trying to, do some other things, and I've gotten through all the repairs and things that I wanted because it's a 2008. It's not brand new or anything. And the next step was to put some emergency food in there, water, things like that. When we evacuated, the cruise ship was ready to sail, but it wasn't ready to feed all the passengers is the problem. So we grabbed what we could, and that was not enough. We had probably just barely enough for 24 hours. Not that we can't get more, not that we can't go to a supermarket and resupply or anything like that. We did. But having it on hand, having it available would have been nice. I didn't get to bring everything that I wanted. I used all of my comms except for HF, which I wouldn't have needed that for local communications, but I used all of it.
You could have used it to send me reports back east here.
I could have, yes. I had some downtime, but I was very tired and a little out of it, so it was a little because I didn't sleep, so it was a little hard to keep things straight. But I had my man pack, my TYT, and my pack frame set up. That's a 78 TYT TH 7800 for 2 meter and 70 meter, and also all the GMRS guys that have repeaters that they were also doing a great job sharing information. Really awesome to see that. So it wasn't just, like all the SNARS guys. It was also, there's a GMRS repeater on the other side, and I've got one as well as a 2 meter for this area. So it was really cool to see everyone be able to share information like that. I did have all my stuff set up. I give myself probably high marks for having my communications gear set up. And the thing that it did for me was it allowed me to basically collect information that I could verify. And it allowed me to decide, well, how far down south am I going to move? Where am I going to move? What areas do I think are safe based on what I'm hearing? And of course, I shared whatever I knew to be true. The part that sucked was, not having enough, food and water and stuff for longer than 24 hours. That was unfortunate, but it was really just kind of more of a timing thing, because that was, if I had another week, if this happened a week later, I would have already had all that stuff ready to rock. But
and I think I suggested to you whenever you were in the middle of trying to get out to take your RV and another vehicle, have your wife drive another vehicle, just in case you had to go.
Yeah. We ended up
supermarket or something like that to run errands, pick up supplies. And I know you ultimately didn't have time to do that, or weren't able to, I think.
Warfiend join. Cheers. Welcome. Yeah, we were going to take one of the other Jeeps. That's also another lesson learned, is that we should have taken, we've got 2 Jeeps, should have taken one. Didn't. I don't recall the reason that we didn't take it. It was very hasty. We literally jumped in. Our biggest concern, honestly, was
just getting out of there.
I had my wife and my dogs. Those are the most important things to me in my life. I mean, I don't want to lose my shit. I don't want to lose all my stuff, my house, everything that I've worked, decades.
You just moved in. You don't want to lose it.
Everything that I've worked, like most of my life for, I don't want to lose it. But the people in your life are not replaceable at all. So, that, high marks, everyone made it safely out. One of the things that I was really worried about, especially after living in California, being stuck on the road while the wildfire moves very quickly, and then sorry.
And I have something pulled up here that I wanted to suggest to you.
Sure.
Especially being out west. I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. What is that? Present. share screen. I'm just going to do that. So my sharing.
Let's see. Let me stop sharing and then there we go.
Can you see what I have brought up there?
I do see it. Yeah. What is it? Oh shit! For a second, I thought that said fire starter. My bad.
No, fire shelter.
I was like, "What are you showing me?"
Pyro, you.
Yeah.
So I know they're super expensive. This one's what, $600.
Yeah.
But being that you live out west in a very fire-prone area, that might be something to invest in. To keep in your RV or your vehicles or in some kind of
definitely.
bug out bag. Because if you are stuck somewhere and you are overrun, this could potentially be a life-saving thing for you.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely look into that. Thank you for the suggestion.
And I don't know why I didn't think about that the other day, but
yeah, and there's, it doesn't matter like how much you prepare, how much you plan. You can't think of every possible scenario. That's life. It is what it is. One thing I ended up not expecting, we had a pretty limited supply of food and water. I ended up giving some of it away. There were people that were a lot worse off than I was. I was doing fine in an air conditioned RV. I was not hurting at all. But there were people that were stuck in their vehicles. It's in the 90s. It was hot and very dry. None of those people that were in their vehicles were prepared for this. You could tell, like, they're in sandals and were wearing whatever they were wearing when they evacuated, and were still wearing it the next day. Oh, it's terrifying. Yeah. And
because what you have on and what you have with you is all that you might end up having.
Yeah. I ended up, because I always hear people talk about what they would do in these situations and stuff like that. And I've come across a few, not a lot, but a few people that are like, well, if they don't have it, then, tough shit kind of thing. They can do without, if they didn't think to prepare. But that's not really how I look at it. Sometimes you can just get caught in a bad situation and be someone that's prepared. And there's, of course, people out there that, don't prepare for these things, and that's fine. But the stuff that I ended up giving water to quite a few people, dog food. There were a lot of people with pets. And so we gave a couple people bowls of dog food with some bone broth that we had, water. There was a really great lady that when everyone was stopped on the exit to Cold Spring, she had one of those folding wagons like you take to the grocery store or whatever, and she had it full of water and apples and all kinds of stuff, orange juice, that she was bringing to people. There were a lot of people that were pretty much helping as much as they could with food and trying to keep people hydrated, which was pretty cool. That was nice to see. One thing that if it happened a week later, I probably would have been able to help a little bit more, and I would have had more stuff to pass out to people. But
for
did what I could.
Emergency services to show up to say where you guys were at in that staging area or your evacuation area, you're probably looking at 24 hours before they show up with any kind of supplies.
Even the cops were hungry. They weren't starving, but people were bringing the NHP and sheriff and everybody that were stationed at certain spots food,
right?
Because they were out there for hours in the heat. But we ended up, and I'll reshare here so you can kind of get a visual image of what I'm talking about. So we ended up, like I said, we boondocked here on North Virginia. And then the next day, I did not sleep. My wife did. She luckily got a few hours of sleep, but she didn't really sleep too well either. But uh, the next day, got up about 5:30, something like that. Wasn't a lot of information, and so we debated whether or not to go either north or south to like a RV campsite or something. We ultimately decided that we were going to head back home. I took North Virginia back towards Cold Springs, and we ended up actually camping out in this little area. There's actually a commuter parking lot here, but when I showed up, there were already lines forming of cars. The parking lot was full of people that wanted to get back in, but NHP had closed the bridge here, and I believe also here on Village Parkway. And we sat
into your neighborhood.
Yeah, we sat there for several hours, all day, pretty much. And so the interesting thing about these situations are the rumors. There were a lot of people that were pulling times out of their asses, meaning everyone was trying to figure out, well, when's the evacuation order going to be lifted? When can you go back in? And 8 p.m. was kind of the consensus that a lot of people came up with. There were some rumors on Facebook. There was some good information on Facebook as well. Social media wasn't saturated with like bad information. So you had some information coming through from amateur radio, 2-meter repeaters, GMRS repeaters, word of mouth, just talking to people, handing out water bottles, where are you coming from? What happened? Kind of getting people's firsthand experience was helpful information. But for whatever reason, 8 p.m. seemed to be the thing that everyone stuck to. And that was based on, I guess, speculation about the wind patterns, and if the wind was going to shift and kick things back up our way, and if so, they were going to shut it down. And then also up in the hills here, there were some spot fires, so we saw those throughout the day. Nevada A&G had a Chinook, a Blackhawk. They were getting water from somewhere over here across the California line. We could see them filling up, flying back, hitting the Fred Mountain fire, I think, and what was left of ours. And that went on for a while. And then eventually, pretty late in the day, we got in. But while we were, one of the interesting things, and this is why you should always have some form of security with you, and just you need to have your head on a swivel all the time, is that people were getting angry. They were getting a little angry with the NHP that had blocked the road, saying, why don't you let us in? It looks like the fire's out. And these people are just trying to keep you safe.
The trooper on the ground right there, it's not his call to make.
It's not. He's just, trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you from accidentally walking into a really bad situation and, burning alive. Totally valid. But there were some people that I could hear them arguing from inside the RV. My wife had walked outside really quick to let the dog go to the bathroom. She came back and she's like, I think some people are getting pretty heated out there. Again, it's hot. People are hungry, thirsty. They probably haven't eaten. I'm sure they missed a meal. And luckily, it didn't come to anything.
But when they got back home, I'm sure they got on Facebook and started bitching about everything.
Yeah. And, it wasn't just one person arguing. I could hear a couple of people are arguing, and I'm like, all right, well, if this escalates, we'll turn around and go somewhere else. I'm not going to keep my wife in that kind of situation, or myself. Luckily that fizzled out. Boondocking overnight. I'm not going to lie to you, I was armed. Absolutely. It was
As you should be.
relatively safe area, but I'm in an RV in an area I don't usually hang out in. So it is what it is.
Makes a good target.
Yeah. And there were some
Because
people
it's a
cruising
resources for people.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I did not sleep well. There around 2:30, 2:45, I could hear people cruising around. Someone's like throwing rocks and shit, and I'm just like, really, like, if you're in a dirt parking lot at this hour throwing rocks at shit, then you're probably up to no good. So I stayed up because of that. And then that was pretty much the night. But eventually we got back in pretty late in the day. We had stayed in line on this overpass, and throughout the day, like, people just kept leaving because they got tired of waiting, so they just bailed, and we just kind of hung out in the RV. And then as people in front of us would turn around and leave, we'd pull up, and we ended up in front of the line at that point. And I stayed there. I made a choice to stay there because I was worried if we left and they opened it up, it'd take like 5 hours to get back in. So waiting paid off. They opened it up. Troopers took off. We drove in, and then that was pretty much, the entire experience. And then since then, they've lifted the evacuation in our area, and as you can see, it has spread. This is a
Pretty big area.
big fire. I mean, Washoe County's big. Washoe County goes like, this whole section here, but not quite down to here or anything.
I used
But
to know a couple deputies from Washoe County that was in the 90s.
yeah, yours, what you patrolled? Did you
I was-
patrol the 50 or?
I was quite a bit east of there. I was in Fallon.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's about 80 miles east of where Reno is.
So as you can see, it's 16,000 acres. Prior to that, the Elephant Fire was like the biggest fire, and then the Bug Fire happened, and then the Fred Mountain Fire. But all of this just kind of took off. The Ironwood Fire, I think that started around the pretty darn close to the Bug Fire. In terms of timing, but yeah, it's interesting how much this has spread. Even right now, as we're talking, in the back, there's some spot fires. There was one when I was coming home today, and then there's quite a bit of smoke still. So I don't know if we'll have to take off again. I hope not. I hope this fizzles out. But if you're someone that was fighting this, on the front lines, God bless you, because that is very difficult terrain. It's hot as hell out there. I'm sure just keeping a perimeter and trying to keep this thing from moving is got to be, I wouldn't want to be out there. That's got to be rough. But yeah, it looks like it spread quite a bit. And that's pretty much, what's happened to date. One thing I do want to mention, too bad Drew's not on. Another kind of lesson learned when we were here on North Virginia on the overpass. This is the 395, waiting to go into White Lake Parkway. There was a guy that he was an older guy. I think he's probably in his 70s. He was in the car in front of me, and he was on oxygen. I thought he was on a CPAP at first, but he was getting a little panicky because he was running out of air. And so I was talking to him, and I said, okay. He said, I've got 25 minutes of air or something like that left. And in I interpreted that to mean is you've got a CPAP or something, and maybe there's some sort of gauge that's telling you this. And I said, well, I have a shit ton of batteries for my radios, I'm sure I could, figure something out to keep a CPAP machine going. And he said, no, it's an air tank, and this is my only one. And I don't know how he calculated he has 25 minutes left, but I ended up, well, you probably saw it in our group chat. I hit up Drew and I'm like, hey, what happens if this guy goes down? And then he called me. He was gracious enough to give me a call and tell me, because that's out of my depth. I don't know what to do in that situation. And, he gave quite a bit of really good instruction and signs of stuff to look for and how to help the guy. I think it would have boiled down to calling EMS and having them, help him. But if I had to do CPR or something, I could have. But he ended up, as I was talking to Drew, he ended up jumping in his vehicle and taking off. And I cringed because I thought, well, you should not be driving right now. You're not looking too good. But he jumped in his truck and bailed before anyone could really do anything. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to him. I assume he's okay, but he was getting pretty upset because he was running out of air.
He probably went to go find an oxygen tank somewhere.
Yeah, Drew mentioned that there are kind of emergency places where you can get those. I mean, obviously, you can probably go to an emergency room if needed. There is a ER not too far away from us, but yeah, it was kind of a scary situation because I don't have any reason to prepare for that other than if I were to help somebody. Like, I don't roll around with extra oxygen tanks.
And that's a whole other mindset is whenever you have a medical condition and you have to evacuate, you have to be able to plan for all of your medical needs when you have a condition of some sort.
Right.
I'm not blaming him or putting fault onto him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his situation is. Maybe he had. I assume he had a bunch of extra ones at home. I wouldn't doubt it, but I felt really bad for the guy just because he was in dire straits, and I'm sure he was a little freaked out. Bobby Bambus says wildfires are not something we have to deal with in my part of Alabama. Sounds scary. Yeah, I've been evacuated for earthquakes and tornadoes, but this is my first wildfire evacuation. It was a little scary because the others were, like the earthquake was like the aftermath of the earthquake, and it just wasn't safe to be where I was at. And then the other time I was living in Oklahoma, and we have tornadoes there frequently, and luckily that was a year that we had some really bad ones, and luckily it missed us, but didn't miss some other people. And really the takeaway out of all of this, there's a few of them, but I've always tried to prep not just for myself, but to help other people. I hope that anyone watching this would keep that in mind, that I know that sometimes there's a little resentment in people that I talk to that do prepare, and they get a little upset because other people aren't as on board as they are with it. And so I think
something you never really think about unless you're put in that situation.
Yeah.
And then once you're put into that situation, then you think about it.
Yeah. But I think there's some people that get a little resentful about it, like, kind of like, not like, why should I help you now? But, Phil at the Matter of Facts podcast mentioned one time, he's like, you got to meet people where they are. And he's right. You do have to meet people where they are because not everyone is fully understanding of these types of situations until you're in one, like you're saying. And I think you do have to prepare to have enough stuff on hand to help other people as well.
You don't know what you don't know, and you don't have the skills that you don't have.
Yeah. And even though we were running kind of low on stuff, I still gave things away. It was just the right thing to do. But I genuinely felt bad for a lot of those folks. And there were some other people that really, you could tell they had it together. They were ready to go. There were people that had better shit than I did. So, there was a really kind of a wide range of everything. People that weren't quite ready and others that were. But I don't know. I guess if you're also someone that, I've heard a lot of people say this over the years, that they don't want to get their ham radio license, or, there's a lot of the arguments of, well, if it's the people's airwaves, then why do I need a license? Why do I have to take a test and all this stuff? And, I've heard all of those arguments. It was really helpful to be on the 2-meter repeaters. Even if you don't want to get your tech or something, which I encourage people to do. But, because with your tech license, you can get onto those repeaters and share information if you've got it. But
or request information that
yes.
You don't have.
Yeah. I did that the next morning when I woke up.
And if you don't have a license and you get on there, that's not considered an emergency.
Right.
For you to even get on the radio and just ask for information if you don't have a license. That's not an emergency situation.
But I understand all the arguments that, people don't want to deal with ham fuds and rule followers and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, those are very poor excuses for not getting your tech at the least. You don't have to get your general or your extra, but at least get your tech. And I encourage anyone to do that because, like I said, you can get on there and request information. If it's a true emergency, it's fine, I think. But if it's a non-emergency, not life or death, then yeah. And until things go full blown Mad Max or something, we have laws, and that's just, what you have to do to jump on amateur radio. But if you don't want to go that route, I understand. At least program all the 2-meter repeaters into your radios. Get on GMRS. That was just as effective, in my opinion. I think the SNARS repeater was more effective because it's on a peak. It was much higher up. It's maintained by a lot of very, smart and knowledgeable people in amateur radio. And, that one was certainly the most helpful, but there were a lot of GMRS repeaters that were going that were very useful. And so I had a mobile one. I've got a mobile repeater on my RV as well. But at the very least, get into GMRS if you haven't. And I don't care what kind of radio you get. Just get something and be proficient at it. Like don't get into all the brand nonsense and all the crap that you see on YouTube and the internet and all this stuff that you need this particular rate. You don't. Get a Baofeng. Just get something.
Get your license, get a Baofeng, and use it.
I've got this old UV82. This is just fine. This is just fine for these purposes. Go get one. Learn how to use it. It's actually got dual PTTs, which is kind of cool because you don't need to press a button to switch lines. Honestly, I'd rock this all day long over this expensive Kenwood that is kind of a safe queen and sits on my desk. I would love to be able to take this out in the field and beat the shit out of it and use the hell out of it and all that stuff, but the battery sucks. Period.
And then if you drop it, you're out $700-800.
It's a great radio. I'm not knocking it. It's a great radio. I love Kenwood radios. I always have. I bought it because I have some weird attachment to Kenwood radios for some reason. Its saving grace is it's got a USB-C charging port, and it does a lot. It's got more bells and whistles than I know what to do with, to be honest with you. Great radio, but the battery sucks. The thing that I used the entire time, I'm not telling anyone to go buy any particular radio by any means. I used this the entire time, this TYT MD UV390. I have two of them that I use. And those are like among the first things that I grabbed because they're in a bag. I have little bags and shit set up, but I grabbed these because I knew I'd need them, and I did. And the battery on it with the expanded battery pack with the USB-C charging port, this thing's still charged. Yeah, it's still got a full battery. I ran this thing for a couple days straight, and it's still charged. Did everything that I needed it to do in the field.
Even with on the TYTs, even with their smaller batteries, I don't remember, what is it, 2200 milliamp hours? I don't remember.
Yeah,
they'll last every bit of a day.
Yeah. I mean, I have some things that I'm really picky about, and when I hate the question of what radio I should get, I don't. It's like, what firearm should I get? I don't know. I don't even like people asking me that because it depends on what you're trying to do, in my opinion. And if I tell you that, then you're going to get all annoyed because you're like, just tell me what radio to get. And it's like, I can't because I don't know what you're doing. If you can tell me what you're doing, I can help narrow it down, but I'm not going to tell you what gear you should get. That's your decision, not mine. But for me, it's IP rated. So if I drop it in a puddle or it's raining or there's dust, debris, whatever, I'm not going to worry too much as I would with another radio, like a Bofang or something like that. But, I did stress tests on UV5Rs. I put them in a dunk tank. I shot them with a 12 gauge. I did 2 videos on this a couple of years ago. Put them in snow, all of that stuff, and they survived. So they're not as delicate as some people would lead you to believe. You have, if that's what you're rocking, a UV5R or something, you're going to be fine. But this is my choice. This particular radio, I made this choice a while back, and this is the one that I'm going to stick with.
The TYT.
Yep.
Yeah. I have 6 or 8 of them.
Yeah, they're fantastic radios. And one of the main reasons that I advocate for that particular one, again, I'm not telling anyone what to buy. I like it because it's IP rated, it's USB-C charging, and the price point. You can buy a brand new one for $130 right now for all of those things.
And you could do analog, you could do VHF, UHF, yep. DMR, encryption, all of it.
The thing that's a bitch, if you're not real well versed on programming DMRs, yeah, it's difficult to learn how to program a DMR versus taking your Bofang here or another analog radio and jumping on Chirp and programming it that way. For most people, for most purposes, just get a fucking UV5R and program it with Chirp. Go get the either online or sometimes these get a little outdated pretty quickly, but go get a hard copy of the repeater directory, and then also jump on mygmrs.com, look for all of the GMRS repeaters in your area, and program your radio. And
surprising have the repeater directory in print.
I like to have physical copies of things because I'm nuts. So I've got maps and all kinds of shit. But please, you know, if anyone that's watching this, if you're on the fence about any of this stuff, just please, for God's sakes, go do it. Do it for yourself. It's layer
If you
your
don't know
comms.
anything about radio, talk to somebody about it.
I did a video about
Reach
this Uniden Bearcat scanner, and a couple people, you know, made comments like, "Well, you're not going to pick up, you know, digital stuff." Why not? I'm not going to pick up digital
It's an
transmissions.
analog scanner.
It's an analog, yeah. But I can pick up the SNARS repeater. I can pick up GMRS repeaters. I can pick up anything that's analog. That little scanner was very helpful because otherwise I'm setting up several HTs in my RV along with my man pack. I had a TYT TH7800 that I turned into a man pack a long time ago. I think that was like my first video I ever did. And I use that thing the whole time as well. And that was an appropriate use, in my opinion, of a man pack. I'm not going to go run out into the woods with one, but that was an excellent rig to have in my RV. And I also had my FT891. That's also set up for in a man pack configuration. I didn't need HF, obviously, but I had it. Layered comms approach, you know, I have a mesh core TDEC, got a couple of those. That was helpful in getting my wife interested in communications. She wasn't really too on board with radios, but you know, a TDEC, which is in the form factor of a BlackBerry, is kind of cool. So I set those up. The other thing that was really helpful, I kind of poo-pooed it early on, even kind of poo-pooed it on a live stream with Drew, but Starlink. Set Starlink up in the RV prior to all this. That was very helpful. So I had internet. I had
How was your cell phone coverage while you were out there? While you were
pretty good. It was pretty good. I was a little worried because, well, not worried. I was thankful that I got Starlink. I have the mini dish on top of the RV. We were about to go to a campsite north of here, about 2 hours away, because we didn't know how long this was going to be. We made a decision that if 8 o'clock rolled around and we didn't get in, we were going to take off. And so the place that we were going to go to is a couple hours north of here, and I think the cell coverage is bad. And so having Starlink in that situation, very helpful. But I don't know. I mean, this is the first time that I used all of my gear in just a matter of a few hours, save for the HF rig. But I used all of it.
In a real life scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God, you know, this didn't turn out worse. Thank God the fire didn't burn our neighborhood down. We got very lucky this time. Very lucky. That could have, depending on the wind conditions and whatnot, you know, if Mother Nature wanted to wipe this place out, that would have happened. There wouldn't have been a damn thing you could have done about it, you know. But no, we were very lucky that, you know, the wildland firefighters and all the first responders were able to basically save our ass.
That's good. Sagebrush burns really quick and very hot.
Yeah. It's amazing how quickly these things move. There were some things that I wished that I could have brought with me. My wife and I had that discussion,
More food.
some sentimental things too.
Right.
I didn't get to bring all my toys with me, obviously, because Drew, when he called me when I was trying to help that dude, we were chatting for a few minutes. He's like, is there anything you wish you would have brought? Which is a question my wife asked me later on, a few hours later. And I was just like, all of it. Because I've got emergency food and water and I was doing pretty good on first aid. I was doing pretty good on comms gear. Didn't get to the point of stocking the RV with food and water at that point. Even to the point where we needed more dog food. But yeah, I don't know. It was a interesting experience. Hopefully that never happens again. But I do live in an area where this shit happens. So you do have to be prepared for it. I think the next time, I'll try to be a little bit more prepared to, help more people if I can. I do have, like I said, I've got a couple repeaters set up at the house that I turned over for emergency traffic. I don't know if anyone used it or not. But I've set up the infrastructure that I could. I've also got a mesh core repeater set up here.
As far as sentimental things go, that it's hard because you have to go through your whole house and pick and choose what you want to take. And pictures, I know a lot of pictures are just on your phone anymore, but
yeah,
if you have old family photos and
it's funny you say that. I was just thinking that everyone's pictures are on their phone anymore. Yeah.
Right. But the ones that are from before all this digital age stuff, I mean, I have thousands of pictures from over the years. Not all of it's sentimental. Some of it is.
Right.
I have a lot of old family photographs. But I don't have it in any kind of fire safe or anything like that.
I mean, I was able to grab like my social security card and our checkbook and those things, titles to cars, shit like that. So I was able to grab that stuff, but it's just when you have to leave hastily, like you can't think of everything. You just can't.
From the time you sent that video saying that there was a fire to the time you said you had to evacuate was very short. How long did it take you from that time to say you had to evacuate to whenever you left the house? How long? How much time had it expired? Had gone? How long did it take you to pack up and leave, basically?
$20 minutes,
which is not a lot of time.
Yeah. I mean, that's how quickly we got everything going. One of the dogs did not want to put a collar on.
Of course not.
They're like, where are we going? Like, they're fucking leaving. Get in the RV.
And that's those are things people have to think about.
Fucking dog didn't want to put a collar on, and
right.
so I guess I'm gonna die here.
Somebody has a 2-year-old. They're 2-year-old feral kids running around outside in their bare feet and a diaper. I mean, you gotta grab them.
I have a couple of Israeli gas masks with the NBC filters, which if it gets too smoky, you can wear. I know it's probably overkill, but I did not bring those, and I wish that I would have, because my fear again was being stuck in traffic, trying to get out in an RV and having it overrun me.
Right. The problem with masks and filters in a fire environment is that all it's going to do is filter out the air that has less oxygen in it anyhow. Right. You're not going to get any more oxygen content out of it.
No, I wouldn't get any more oxygen content, but if it gives me enough to tip the scales to get out of somewhere, I'll take it.
Exactly.
That's all I was looking for. I'm not.
And I think there's a little bit of misconception that, not with us, but in the general public, that if you have a mask filter or filtered mask or whatever,
Right.
that you're going to be safe, and that's not always the case, because it's only filtering what's there.
Well, I mean, that was something that everyone learned during COVID.
Right.
There were people wearing masks for a sterile environment, and they were walking around in a very dirty environment, and also not knowing how to use a mask. They were touching it and all kinds of stuff, and reusing the same ones over and over. Any industrial hygienist. When I worked in manufacturing, we had an industrial hygienist that came and taught us all about masks and that stuff, and different kinds of filters and what different masks can be used for. And great information. Didn't know I'd need it during a pandemic, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Like there's a little bit of a misconception probably about like the effectiveness of some of that stuff, but I still wish I would have grabbed it in case I needed it. It's probably a nice to have, I guess. I don't know. You can't prepare for everything though.
No, you sure can't.
Let's see. Rabbit Ham says most gases that are byproducts of the displaced oxygen, but I'm with you. Something is better than nothing. Yeah, and I was going through all my stuff today because we were resupplying our RV, and we were going through and repacking some stuff. And I really wrestled with this idea because I'm like, is it really going to give me, is it going to tip the scales a little bit? And I came to the conclusion that it probably would. That's why I brought it up. But
I mean, it's definitely going to give you an advantage for sure.
Right.
It's going to filter out any particulates and matter and stuff that you would be ingesting into your lungs. So that's definitely a win.
Right. I mean, I know that, these guys, some of these firefighters, they're wearing, oxygen. They've got oxygen tanks and all that stuff. They're much more prepared for being in the middle of a very smoky environment, and a gas mask with an NBC filter is going to only get you so far. But, it is what it is. I think it is better than nothing. I'd agree with that. On the first aid front, we were in pretty good shape. I have a duffel bag. That's my first aid kit, like a big one. And it's got damn near everything you can think of in there, except for the oxygen tank. When I was buying it, what I do is I'll buy first aid kits that I'll look through the list, and then I add to it things that I think I need. But I saw one a long time ago that had an oxygen tank. I'm like, wonder if I'd ever use that. And then I was like, nah, I'm never going to use that. Turns out, yeah, I could have used it.
Could have used
someone else or somebody else. Yeah.
You could always get, and they're relatively inexpensive. You could always get a couple fire escape hoods.
Yeah.
They don't supply air or oxygen or anything, but I think they fold up pretty small for storage, and they use them on ships and in the industrial facilities, and high-rise buildings a lot of times have them.
Let me check the if there's any updates. Well, it looks like there's more power outages. So that's another thing that kind of came up. So when we left, I think power was supplied probably right around maybe 6 or maybe 8 p.m., I think.
But they actually cut the power off to your kids, though, right?
Yeah, they cut everything off to our whole community. Because up until then, I was periodically checking the Ring cameras. And, I was trying not to give myself a false sense of hope. But But then when and I was also happy because I'm like, well, the repeaters are still up. I know there's people still leaving. Maybe, anyone that's aware of the repeaters, then, maybe they're of some use. And then I realized that the power was out sometime around 8, I think, about 8 p.m. And then it was just nothing until the morning. And then eventually power was restored, jumped back on Ring. Everything seemed to be okay. And then when I got to the overpass, I was able to stand on top of the RV, and with the other TYT that I've got that's got a little bit bigger antenna, I was able to hit both repeaters.
The repeaters at your house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the RV, I've got a Revitus, one of those little mobile, those little portable jobs, those little, RT97 GMRS repeater. I've got a mesh core repeater as well, in addition to all the other shit that I've got. But that stuff was helpful as well. There's some things I'll definitely do over again, or change rather. But for hastily putting everything together, it went okay. I can't really complain. Still got my house. We're alive.
Still have all your fingers and toes and appendages.
Yeah. I mean, can't really ask for anything besides that, to be honest with you.
And even the people that evacuated that you said were not prepared. I mean, I'm sure all turned out just fine as well. But it's the totality of the circumstances. It could have gone much worse. Yeah. And they could have been much worse off.
In this situation, the worst thing that ended up happening, just as a person that had to evacuate, you were displaced for, I don't know, a little over 24 hours. No one got hurt. No one lost anything to my knowledge. At least I don't think anyone got hurt either. But, you were definitely displaced. And so either not preparing or not having access to the things that you've prepared with is the difference between being really miserable or having a little bit easier time. Right. Now, like you're saying, if it would have gotten much worse, then I don't know. I can't really.
The arguments could have turned into fighting, and fighting could have turned into shots fired type deal. Yeah. When those people were arguing, I was a little concerned about that. That's why I was like, well, maybe we'll leave. But it just ended up being nothing, which was good. It didn't sound like nothing at first, but ended up being that way, and certainly thankful for that. But I mean, you got to remember too, people are hot, they're tired, they're scared and uncertain.
That was one of the reasons that, I just kind of looked at it the way that I did. Like I gave it a minute. I'm like, well, maybe this will kind of cool down. It did, because I'm like, some of these people are scared.
Yeah, fear-driven responses are sometimes the worst, though.
I was worried. I mean,
they could escalate very quickly.
When we were boondocking off Virginia, and I was sitting on the RV, just kind of watching what was going on, and watching, police, NHP fly up the highway, and paramedics, and all those people. I was like, shit. Like, all you can do is watch at this point. There's really nothing you can do other than, care for yourself at that point, and others. But yeah, it was an interesting experience, to say the least. Definitely a lot of lessons learned. One of them certainly is, no matter how prepared you think you are, you can't think of everything. And you just have to do your best to improvise in certain situations, I think.
I wanted to ask you about the traffic conditions. So whenever you left the house and were leaving your community and going down to that Virginia road or whatever it was, what was the traffic like coming out? Was it heavy traffic? I mean, I know it's a smaller community. There's probably only a couple thousand people there.
When the evacuation order was issued?
Yes. Yeah.
I was a little ahead of the curve, and we made the decision to leave before watch duty announced an evacuation, before anything showed up on social media. You've talked to me enough, you know I'm a paranoid guy. You understand me. I didn't wait for an official word. We left. When we were leaving, there's kind of a long road to get to White Lake. I think that's when my wife, when she was sitting in the passenger seat, she was like, "Oh yeah, they're announcing an evacuation now." And I don't know if it was because it was the time of day or what, but when we were leaving the community, a lot of people were coming in. So I assume that word had possibly spread. This is just an assumption. I can't prove this, but it looked to me like a lot of people were, hauling ass in to, grab their shit and leave. Yeah. And then right behind them was the Washoe Sheriff. They were coming in. They had their lights on, and they were there to evacuate people as well. But we were a little ahead of the curve on that one. So another kind of situation where we got pretty lucky, good timing. It's not always going to be like that, but I'll take it. Trying to think of anything important that I might have missed.
That's always my biggest concern in an evacuation scenario is everybody's leaving at once. And now you have miles and miles of roads that are just tied up with stop traffic. So when I lived in the Pittsburgh area before I moved here to Virginia, I was in the fire department up there. And my department was within the 10-mile radius of a nuclear power plant. And once a year, we always had a drill in case there was a general emergency scenario at the power plant, and they had to start evacuating everybody within the 10-mile radius. And I don't even remember what the population was within that 10 miles. It was something like close to 100,000 people. And different areas of that 10-mile radius had specific places that they were supposed to evacuate to. And I mean, even back then, you're talking, you're going to be tying up the roads, congesting the roads with 100,000 people.
Right.
That's the roads aren't made for, the traffic conditions. So you're going to be in stop traffic for hours.
Right.
Trying to get out of that 10-mile radius zone.
Yeah. And
they see the same thing in hurricanes down the Gulf Coast and stuff.
Yeah.
They issue evacuation orders a day ahead of time, and it takes almost a day for you to get out.
One of the
tied up.
Yeah, I was worried about that. Now we have a smaller community here, so it's nothing like a Pittsburgh or like an LA or something where you could end up in some terrible gridlock for hours. You can get into down at the Spaghetti Bowl, where the freeways and stuff intersect. That can be a bit of a challenge as far as traffic's concerned. But I mean, we live on the outskirts, so
you're pretty far away from the city aspect of it.
Yeah, I'm like a stone's throw from the California border, so there's a couple ways in and out. But I was, even at that, I was still worried about what you're saying and just being stuck in some kind of gridlock. That's why we left early, because we're just like, let's go.
And then when you're in that gridlock, all it takes is one accident on the highway in front of you a mile.
Yeah.
And you're stuck.
I was worried about that too. Now that you bring it up, there was a car in front of me that was flying and they were going fast, and it's a curvy road. And I'm going slow because I'm in this 30-foot RV, which I'm very new to. And so I was trying to be as safe as I could. And this guy was flying. I'm like, I hope this guy doesn't get into an accident in front of us. But yeah, I mean, you start thinking about all those things in the moment. You know, these aren't, when you're preparing for stuff, that doesn't cross your mind necessarily. What if someone gets into an accident in front of me and I'm stuck?
Right.
How are you going to prepare for that? So, I mean, totally valid.
I mean, there's always things in these scenarios that are completely out of your control.
Right.
No matter what you prepare for.
I mean, we were very lucky. Like, thank God it turned out for the best. You know, nothing happened in way of anyone lost their life or property or animals or anything like that I'm aware of. There were a lot of people that were ferrying animals from a lot of these areas to safe spots. But yeah, it was scary for sure. I mean, I was worried. I wasn't sure what we were going to come back to, but you know, everywhere in the country has something. You can't out prepare or outrun Mother Nature. It is what it is. And, you know, I've heard people make comments like, you know, like if you live, you know, an area where there's tornadoes, you know, why do you live there? Or earthquakes or whatever. And it's like, well, everybody's got something. You know, some areas have wildfires, and they've got some really severe ones, I guess, going on in Washington at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Those are worse than here, I believe. I haven't followed it too much. I've been obviously preoccupied, but
you know, just like the Palisade fires down in California a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You know, that was right there on the coast, and that was nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was just kind of weird. I threw that first short up there about, hey, you know, depending on where you are, SHTF could look like a lot of different things. Then like minutes later, I'm like, well, I gotta leave.
It was literally like 2 minutes later. You said, hey, we're leaving.
You know, and one thing, and I almost didn't post anything after that. One thing I was trying not to do was I didn't want to make like a spectacle of this. I didn't want it to be like ghoulish, you know, like, hey, look at this fucking tragedy on social media. I really just wanted to show people, you know, what was happening, just kind of document what my experience was, because
well, knowing you and how you do content and how you portray things, I don't think anything you've ever done or said or has ever been portrayed as ghoulish or whatever. I mean, it's
I hope not. I
it's
try
very
and,
practical.
I try and keep it practical.
Yeah.
You know, I don't do any sensational stuff or anything. But I just didn't want it to come off that way or anything, because like this is a serious situation and people could potentially lose stuff. But I wanted to at least document my experience. And at the end of it, you know, because hey, I talk a lot of shit about this stuff. I talk a lot of shit about preparedness and radios and stuff like that. And, you know, if anything fails, I'm going to be honest about it. So, you know, I'm not monetized or anything. I'm not making money off of this stuff. I'm genuinely doing it because I'm actually really interested in this subject. And hopefully some of the stuff that I do, you know, maybe it'll help somebody else. I think you only really fail at something if you walk away from an experience and not having learned anything. And that includes when things go well. And so this was, a real life test, did all my stuff work? It did. I had one malfunction with the radio, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you. I was actually been meaning to ask since Saturday. One of the Bowfangs that I have in my RV, I have two of them, one on each visor in the cab. And I've actually just got them set up to, when I'm backing the RV up into the RV parking, just for help making sure I don't hit anything. I've got a backup camera and obviously everything, but sometimes that, since we bought it, I'm like,
pair of eyes.
Yeah. And that's all it was in there for. And then I found myself using it as a radio to monitor what was going on other channels. And then I don't know if I did something. I must have. Maybe I accidentally hit reset all in the menu or something. I mean, I didn't even go into the menu, but it actually reset itself to its factory condition, and I don't know why.
That's interesting. I mean, it's cheap Chinese technology.
Yeah,
it could be very much just a downside of that. It just happened.
I looked at it and it was in VFO mode, and I was like, "That's weird." And so I pressed it again, and Wandering in the Wilderness, welcome. And sorry, I'm not trying to ignore anyone in the chat. If you guys have stuff to throw out there, by all means, if you've got questions or comments or whatever, throw them out there. We'll talk about them. But yeah, it reset itself. I don't know why. I may have accidentally pressed something. It's most likely user error.
You lock the keypad on it whenever you're using it, or it's sitting there. I mean, on my TYT,
that one I don't.
I always keep the keypad locked because I'm always afraid of pushing a button and it going off channel, off frequency.
That one I do too.
Yeah. Changing a setting, whatever.
Yeah, this 390 that I have as my primary.
Right.
I locked that one, but that one I didn't because I had it sitting on a counter, and I was just listening to it, and I think I had to have done something because in the middle of multitasking, which I'm not good at, I think I may have accidentally pressed something while I was messing with another radio, and I may have accidentally pressed something in the menu, perhaps, because when I looked back down at it, it had reset to its factory condition, and I was like, well, shit. But I did have I have a few Panasonic Toughbooks, and I've got one in one of my bags that I had with me, and some programming cables, and I was able to reset it, or actually restore it with the image that I had on there in about probably 10-15 minutes, because I had to unpack everything and set it up and connect it all. But I have a specific laptop that I use for programming things on the road. And so I had that with me with the cables for those radios. And so I was able to remedy that pretty quickly. So something to think about for anyone that's out there that's putting their gear together. It's helpful to have, an extra machine if you can transport it. It's not too much trouble.
And that's another good reason to have hard copies of your code plug.
Yeah.
That way, if you don't have your computer with you, your computer breaks, you're still able to at least manually program your radio.
Yeah, I had all that stuff. Let's see. I'm not sure if you have a 3D printer. I do, but there's some decent prints for button guards for that radio. Yeah, I do have a 3D printer. That's a good point. I have seen people 3D printing radio or button guards and also guards for like the VFO knob and all that stuff. I know that there's some people that have those for or print them for the Bowfang Air 152, that really big radio that everyone likes. But yeah, that's something I want to get, a 3D printer. Yeah, it's a little bit of a learning curve. I have one that doesn't self-level, which if I ever get another one, then I'd want that because manually leveling it was very frustrating for me. But
as far as the button guards go, so my radio pouches for my tactical gear for my TYT radios, I actually formed a piece of Kydex around the radio with the belt clip on it, and
that's a good idea.
And the accessory plug. And I just took a heat gun. I kind of formed it by hand. It's very crude.
Right.
But that Kydex slides down inside it's actually a magazine pouch for an AR-15 mags. And it fits perfect. And then I'll have to show you, send you some pictures of it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
But then the radio slides down into that Kydex sleeve that's in the pouch, and it prohibits you from touching buttons or pushing the buttons, or when you're leaning up against something or whatever. You're not going to inadvertently change any settings on it.
Yeah.
And then with the AR-15 pouch, it has the flap that comes over top of the radio, and it protects the top of the radio, so you're not inadvertently messing with the volume control or the channel knob on it as well.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say, one of the things that I'm really big about is, being able to recharge my stuff in the field for this very reason. And, I've got some folding solar panels. I've done a lot of research for myself. Just like Jennison charge controllers are pretty good because they're not as noisy. Lithium batteries are good in the winter, all that stuff. And so I've put together these little kits, and I recommend that people do that as well. Have some backup portable power that you can connect to a solar panel that's, like a folding 30-watt panel, just a small one that you can put in a bag, and connect that to either a lithium battery with the appropriate charge controller. Because, when you're buying charge controllers, you got to figure out like if you need like a SLA, sealed lead acid charge controller, or one for a lithium battery. But make sure that you have that on hand, or maybe find some sort of self-contained unit or something that has all of that.
I just got this here recently.
I have one of those. Those are great.
And I was gonna say, I think you have one. This is what, 15,000 milliamps.
Yeah.
I can't read it. It's so small in there.
Yeah.
But I can charge my phone. I can charge our TYT radios with this.
And you can plug it into a folding panel, and it'll charge.
It'll charge, cool. Right?
Yeah.
You can charge it off of your vehicle. Charge this up, and yeah.
What is the brand again? It's Ness something or other. Starts with an N. Should say on there is it
Nest Out?
Nest Out. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I have one of those. It's great.
See it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
can't see it on camera, but yeah,
that's a really good one. It's got a USB-C and 2 USB-A's, and then one of those is an input that you can use to charge it.
Right behind me, I have some of these cheap solar charging ones too.
How many watts is that?
I don't remember. I can't read it. It's so small.
But definitely,
I can charge my phone. I could get at least 1.5 phone charges off of one of these, though.
Yeah, that could be.
It's not going to go fast, but
yeah. I mean, my advice that I would give people is, certainly have the ability to charge your stuff off grid. That's something that I've really been big into for years. Whatever gear you've got, try and, have it, have some sort of level of interoperability. So, I usually try and stick with the same radios in the field, and I can swap out the same antennas, the same batteries. I have the same programming cables, all of that stuff. That way I'm not looking for 5 different things for, like one radio.
I carry a hard-sided box. I think I got it at Costco a while back. And I have all my radio gear in there. I have an IC7000, which is VHF, UHF, and HF.
Yeah.
Power banks, all my TYT radios. I have some headsets in there for the radios.
Now, I'm not saying I
Keep it in
don't
the truck just about all the time.
And I'm not saying I don't travel with some one-off items. I do. Not everything's plays with each other, but you know, for that stuff, I carry connectors around with me as well, like BNC connectors, all of that stuff. You don't have to carry like, you know, a ton of them, just the main ones, and you know that you'll find frequently. And I had those with me. That was helpful. But if you're gonna, you know, whatever radio you get, you know, like this one's not a bad one. This one's got a aftermarket, you know, for a Bofang battery, but a lot of people like those really big Bofang Air 152s because the batteries last forever. I don't know what's inside of there, but they do. I've got one of those
18650 batteries.
Yeah. And I bought one as part of one of the pressure tests that I did for a video that I mentioned earlier, where, you know, I was putting them in snow overnight and dunking them in a dunk tank and shooting them and all that stuff, just to see how they would hold up in like the harshest conditions you can think of. And that one did well. The thing that I'll tell you is the seam on that battery for the AR-152, it's not watertight. When I did the video with that, I said that I did 2 videos, and I did multiple radios in each one. And someone had made a comment. I don't think they watched the whole video, but you know, they're like, made kind of a comment somewhere to the effect of like, well, that radio is not IP rated anyway. And in that video, I pull up where Bofang does advertise that the AR-152 has an IP rating. Obviously, there's different levels of IP ratings, but it did have one, and I showed it, and I comment back, and I'm like, hey, look, you know, they're advertising that it does. The radio itself probably does, but I don't think the batteries do.
I was just gonna say the battery might not be IP rated.
Right. I've even messed around with, I mean, you're gonna laugh, but I've sprayed Scotchgard on some of these batteries before and put them in the water, and they held up.
If it works, it works.
Held up for about an hour. If it works, it works. But yeah, that AR-152 battery is fantastic in terms of longevity. But if you submerge it for a long period of time, water's going to get in there. It'll probably short it out. You'd have to just let it dry, and you could probably use it again, and it might recharge. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, from the testing I've done. If you just drop it in the water or something and pick it up pretty quickly, you're probably fine. If you do drop your shit in the water and it gets submerged, and the best thing to do is take it apart if you can and clean it with alcohol, and that'll clean up the board. Don't put it in a bag of rice or any of that. That's not going to help you. You got to clean it with alcohol. But I don't rock that radio because I think it's too big. Some of the arguments for it are like the buttons are big, and if you've got gloves on, you can access the buttons. That makes sense. I get that. Totally fair.
I have the TRI version of it, not a Bofang, but the TRI.
How are those programmed? Are those manual, or is there
manual?
There's no software for it, right?
Not for the TRI. For the TCA, there is. The TRI, there's not. Everything has to be done through the front of the radio. And
those are cool. When I first learned about them a few years back, I was like, hey, that'd be cool to have. And then when I figured out that there's not any firmware, like software to program it with, I was like, well, that's a drawback. I don't want to.
I mean, it works really well,
right?
And it works on a lot of different bands. It even works somewhat decently on the 220 band.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't remember the exact. It's a lot less reduced power. And towards the edges of the band, it doesn't work quite as well. But it works. It transmits.
I think I'm remembering this correctly. I think you can get the Air 152 to work on 220. You have to go into Chirp and program it though.
Okay, I didn't know that for the Baofeng one.
Yeah. Kind of interesting. But I mean, like I said, if you do whatever, for those of you out there, kind of figuring out how you might want to set things up, definitely look for something with a decent battery. My preference is something that's IP rated. It doesn't have to be like the Yaesu VX6 where you can put it in a swimming pool underwater for 30 minutes before water gets in, but something that you can drop in a puddle and, if it's in there for a minute.
And always have multiple batteries for your radio too.
Yeah.
Just always get a second set of batteries for it, because you can keep those charged. You can just swap it out. Sometimes they don't like to work very well, especially in transmitting when they're plugged in and they're low on voltage. Sometimes they don't like that.
Now, if it catches on fire, there's nothing you can do. You're SOL. All the IP ratings in the world aren't going to matter, but definitely definitely research this stuff and get something. But I encourage everyone to know their local repeaters, whether it's amateur radio or GMRS, whatever, and layer your comms. I don't care what it is. Like I've got a T-Deck, I've got MeshCore going. There actually wasn't a ton of information on MeshCore when I had checked it at the time. That may have changed. MeshCore
I just recently started doing MeshCore.
It's cool. Like if you're thinking about getting into it, absolutely.
I don't know a lot about it, but there's a couple kids here local that are really into it, and we set the repeater up on my tower here back in June or July, I don't remember, and it works really well. We're linked pretty much all up and down the East Coast here.
I'm gonna do a live on my channel on what I've learned about MeshCore. I'm not an expert on MeshCore. I started getting into Meshtastic a few years back. I think I did a video on like how to program it through their web browser or whatever. But I started getting into it before they introduced the ability to program it through a web browser. And, I had started programming like T-beams and stuff, just, on my computer with other software. But then they introduced the web browser, and I'm like, well, that's even better. So I did a video, and then I started exploring it more, and then I kind of lost interest in it because I had some other projects. But for me, it didn't feel like it was really there.
I think Meshtastic in the past has been buggy, and that's why I never got into Meshtastic. And
Wandering the Wildernesses, I've been looking at Meshtastic thoughts. That's where we're headed. I like Meshtastic. I'm thankful that I started with that first, because it gave me a good baseline for understanding kind of the technology and stuff to a certain, very high level, of course, and what it was. MeshCore, in my opinion, is better. It's a little easier to get started in. I think if you don't know much about it, the barrier to entry is pretty low. I had some old T-beams laying around from when I was messing with Meshtastic, and I was like, I wonder if I can just reflash these with the firmware for MeshCore. And I did. It worked really well. The first attempt failed. I had to try it again, and it worked. And so I set up my first T-beam device as a Bluetooth companion for my Android phone, and then that's how I first got on it. We're only talking like a few weeks ago that I've been doing this. And so I got my other T-beam, set that up, and then I started looking at repeaters and stuff like that. That was my next question. Excellent. We're syncing up, you and me.
Somebody's actually paying attention to our live stream.
Hot damn. But it's easy to figure out what gear you need. So you can flash compatible equipment like the T-Beam with the MeshCore firmware. So that worked. You can also, I also figured out how to set up my T-Beam as a repeater. So I experimented with that and then went back to making it a Bluetooth companion. And then so I got a SenseCap repeater from Amazon. I got 2 of them. One for the RV and one for the house. I flirted with making one, and I'm like, it's honestly, after I parted everything out and tried to figure out the cost, I'm like, it'd just be cheaper for me to buy one. And so I did that. But the SenseCap self-contained repeater, it's got the board and then a solar panel all built into this unit. I flashed that with the MeshCore firmware when I got it. It was very easy to go into the online console, set everything up, name it, all that good stuff. And then it was very easy to submit my repeater on the MeshCore map. And then I wanted some handheld devices other than the T-Beams. I'm using the T-Beams with MeshCore flashed on it primarily as kind of like a way to access my repeaters with my phone. Because it's just kind of like an admin tool for me, basically. But the T-Decks are cool. They're like $95, a little pricey in my opinion. I don't know how rugged this necessarily is. So if you're going to get one, not be careful with it, but just don't beat it up. Don't drop it from a ladder. Don't do anything crazy. But it is pretty cool. This is also really easy to flash with the firmware and get started. It's the UI is pretty intuitive, and that was kind of my issue with Meshtastic, was that it wasn't necessarily intuitive when I was learning about it. This is easier to get set up on. There are a ton of nodes and repeaters in my area. Like, I was getting traffic from Fernley, Lake Tahoe, so that it's, so that's telling you that there's so many devices out there, so many nodes that traffic, the data is traveling that far. I mean, because that's pretty far from me.
So here, I don't know if you can see it
I can see it
all up and down the East Coast, all the way from Pittsburgh down to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Over in the Kentucky and Nashville area.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just insane the amount of repeaters and nodes that are coming into the repeater here at my place on my tower.
Wandering in the Wilderness, have you seen the DIY repeater? Black Flag did a video on $35 DIY project. I have not. I think you're talking about Black Flag Civilian. I am aware of that channel. And when I was researching MeshCore, that did come up. His videos did come up. I did check out a couple of them just to see, what he was doing, as well as a few others. But I think it's a lot easier to get into because it's a little more user-friendly than my experience with Meshtastic. I think if you're still interested in Meshtastic, give it a whirl. I think you'll end up at MeshCore, is my opinion.
I think in the past, a lot of people liked Meshtastic because it integrated with ATAC really well for the tactical world. But that is coming, that I think is now available on MeshCore, or will be soon.
I think so. And that was actually the primary reason why I was interested in Meshtastic, because I'm like, maybe I'll set up ATAC, because you can download offline maps for, like, if you're hiking and stuff.
But that's coming to MeshCore, and also there's going to be, it might already be available now. There's going to be an internet connection available for MeshCore.
Yeah.
Not for the public channel, but for any other channel that you want to set up.
It looks like you can. I haven't done it because it defeats the purpose for why I'm doing this.
Right.
It looks like you can access Wi-Fi though on this T-Deck. At least looks like there's an option for that in the settings, but I'm a proponent for decentralized communication. We've done enough episodes where we've talked about Iran turning off the internet or severely throttling it for people. We've talked about the Arab Spring. Same thing happened. We've talked about the Hong Kong protests where, hey, look, during the last 24 hours, I used my phone a lot too. I used all of this stuff. I used all of the layers that I've got. But, if you are in a situation where the internet is throttled, maybe it's just not available. This is pretty cool. This is hard to beat. It really
Especially
is.
for local communications.
Decentralized communications that people can't turn off. That's why I like HF. If you're in that you can build a kick-ass network one node at a time. You really
and that's
can.
what we're doing in our area here.
Yeah. I encourage people to, I know that, we've been talking for like an hour and a half here, or almost 2 hours actually, but, about this stuff. And we've kind of jumped around a little bit to different technologies and stuff. But, if you're going to set up a communications plan, my recommendation would be layers of comms. Cover as much bandwidth as you can within reason. Don't be afraid of this stuff. Don't let anyone discourage you from doing this. Ignore all the fucking people that are negative. Anyone that's, quote unquote ham fud or whatever. Ignore all the nonsense. And this isn't, don't worry about all that. You just worry about what's best for you and your family and the effective ways that you can communicate with the people that you care about. I was able to talk to everyone that I needed to. Mission accomplished. So, that's kind of the point that I guess I'm trying to make for other people when they're wrestling with what gear to get and all that stuff. Like, first question is, who do you want to talk to? If you don't have any friends, it's pretty easy. You don't need any radios.
You don't need it. Get your ham license so you can talk to anonymous men on the radio.
So you could talk to lonely hams.
Right.
I had my DMR radio on my rig. I actually did not use that one. I didn't fire that one up. Probably could have been useful for. That one would have been useful because I had Starlink going. But I don't hear people talking on a lot of those talk groups. The only one I hear people talking on are like the North America group. And that one's okay. That one's not. I think that I forget which.
You get a lot of
talk
shit
group,
in that group.
Talk group 93, I think. There's a Nevada one. I don't think it's the same one as Snars. Snars has one that's good. A lot of the Snars stuff is good, but yeah, the North America chat, like,
I can care less about it.
To me, that's their borderline Reddit group. To me.
Yes.
So I was like, fuck this. I don't care about this. But for like the local, like the statewide Nevada channels and stuff like that, like DMR could have been useful if other people had it. Other people have this. This is probably in that scenario a little bit more effective.
And
between the two.
Go back to DMR for a minute. There's different aspects of DMR radio. There's DMR simplex, where, like for my team, we have everything set up DMR wise, and it's not encrypted. It doesn't have to be encrypted, but it's direct radio to radio digital communications, digital voice communications. Then there's DMR repeaters out there that your radio is transmitting digitally, DMR wise, to a DMR capable repeater,
right?
That a group or a club, whatever, has set up, and it's usually alongside the FM analog repeater that they have,
right?
And then there's the hotspots that you could use, like we like the one you got from Bridgecom and the
Right.
ones that I built.
Yeah.
That you have a little box that sits right next to you. Your radio basically transmits to that, and then that puts that out over the internet, or makes the connection to the internet into these talk groups. And
that's what I have that
huge
set up
thing
in
on DMR.
Yeah.
I'm not well versed in it. I don't use it that often.
Hang on, let me close this door. The dogs are going crazy because my wife came in. Hang on.
But while he's gone, but yeah, there's so many aspects to DMR that you can get into, and that's useful. There's
So we have 3 dogs, and one of them is he's like my wife's dog. Moose is basically my
Gets
wife's
excited
dog.
when she comes home.
This guy, he wags his whole body when she comes in. He's so excited to see her. He loves her. But sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, that's okay. But there's just so many aspects to DMR, and so many different ways to use it. There's a couple DMR repeaters in my area that I could talk to my repeater, and then you can connect to it from Reno through the talk group,
right,
through your Bridgecom system, and we can talk from my radio to the repeater that's local here, through the internet to your hotspot, to your radio.
See, and there's some purists out there that are kind of off-grid purists where they're I don't want to rely on anything that uses the internet. And it's look, this DMR is not connected to a hotspot. I have an Anytone 878-2, UV2 or whatever that is, connected to a hotspot that's based on a Raspberry Pi. And I use that for what you're talking about. When we want to connect it to the internet, it's there.
It's there. Right.
This one is not.
You don't have to do it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
I like this one because it does both digital and analog and a lot of other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's why that's my go-to. But yeah, no, you're right. And there's nothing wrong with having stuff connected to the internet at all. It's just part of your communications layer.
It's a layer. And you don't want to rely on any one layer for any given time either.
No, you don't. Wandering in the Wilderness says, if you want to learn, reach out and get some solid training from a cool guy like one of y'all. Comms is probably my weakest area, hoping to fix that. I am not an expert at all. We're just a
dudes.
Guy that's crying, it's just, as Drew says, it's a cry for help. That's all our channels are. I only got into this stuff because, I'm certainly interested in it. Interested in emergency and disaster communications and stuff, but I only started really doing YouTube stuff just to share what I know. What little I know.
And I can't remember. Did I reach out to you?
You reached out to me, and I don't know how you found me.
I don't remember. I think it was probably
why is this cop stalking me?
Right? What's this boy want?
They found me. They've been looking at my Amazon purchase list.
I think it was your AR-152 video.
Oh, was
it? I think.
No shit.
I can't remember now. Anyway, but
did you just find it randomly?
Yeah, I just found it randomly, and I looked at some of your other videos. I think I'm like, I need to reach out to this guy.
Oh, cool.
That was what, 3 years ago now.
Yeah, and then we ended up. Yeah, and then that led to this somehow. We were just
we were just brainstorming somehow, and
yeah, we're like, let's do a live stream.
Let's make a YouTube channel.
Well, collectively, between you, Drew, myself, everyone that we've invited on here, that's a lot of communications knowledge.
It is, yeah.
That we can share. That's the point of this. This isn't monetized either. None of it is.
No.
But if you want to send us money, God bless you. I'm not going to stop you. But
I'll give you my Venmo.
we'll just start e-begging. Is what
right.
Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and here's a word from our sponsor.
Here's my Patreon, and
if I can, for $1 more, you can find out what music I like every month.
Right.
No,
for For $2 more, we'll show you what Drew really does in his off time.
Right. No, it's just to share stuff, because I think there's kind of a need to share knowledge. I think there's a lot of gaps to fill, especially when it comes to communications, like wandering in the wilderness saying, comms is probably my weakest area, hoping to fix that. Talking to other people, figuring out what doesn't work, and then also being naturally curious is a huge thing. Like if you're naturally curious about stuff, it doesn't matter if it's firearms or communications. Like once you start messing with stuff and tinkering and all of that, making mistakes and learning from those are the things that are going to help you the most. But having people to bounce ideas off.
Well, we bounce ideas off each other all day long.
All the time.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times in just our chat we're like, hey, has anyone, like Yard Sale was like, hey, has anyone seen this radio before? It was one that I hadn't even looked at.
Right, and I had forgotten about it, and I looked it up and sent the link, and then I finally remembered, I did look into that a while ago.
Or even just troubleshooting Windows audio issues for JS8 call, figuring out how to turn off that automatic.
Drew's our go-to guy for that.
Yeah, squelch control. If I have anything Raspberry Pi, related, he was actually a huge help on like all the Starlink stuff because he's been messing with that. But like that's the cool thing is that like collectively, everyone dabbles in different stuff and becomes really knowledgeable about stuff because it's like firearms. Like it's just the world of radio is so big you can't know it all.
Right.
Same thing with guns. Like you can't know it all. But I don't know. Hopefully hopefully all of our channels have helped kind of bridge some gap.
A problem I've had is I have not made any content for my own channel at all for probably over a year. And that's the tough part is it's saturated though. It is. And I think I have good ideas. Then I'll start to put a video together. I'll start filming something. I'm like, this is stupid. What am I doing?
Why do you think why do you come to that conclusion that it's stupid?
Because I feel like I sound like an idiot. I feel like it's already been covered 500 times. Nobody wants to hear my side or what I have to say about it because there's so much more.
I disagree. I think you should make the videos. Who gives a shit what?
In reality, that's what I should think. Yes.
No, who gives a shit? Because I've made videos on like, there's stuff that I've done that like I didn't think anyone would even care about. Setting up, upgrading the firmware in my Xiegu X6100. I had someone that messaged me and they're like, "Thank you for this," because I had a hard time finding it, and I thought, well, this is probably everywhere, but it actually really helped someone, and they messaged me and they're like, thank you for doing
I had
that.
a comment on one of my older videos the other day and I never responded to it. I should respond to it. And it was the series that I started on the TRI radios on the Baofeng, the military looking radio. I was going through that and making a step-by-step on every menu on how to program and everything. And I think I did 2 or 3 videos, and I had like 4 or 5 others planned out that I just never made. But somebody commented, when are you going to finish the rest of the videos? I'm like, yeah, you're right.
It's easy to get discouraged with radio in particular. This is all my opinion. This isn't fact. It's just what I think. It's easy to get discouraged with this shit because the things that we're talking about are like niche topics. I know that the market's saturated. There's a million people that are like, if you press this fucking button, the ham radio police are going to get you, and here's why. Right. And they've got they've got the clickbait thumbnail and all the bullshit and nonsense. Or how many fucking thumbnails have you seen with people doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
Who gives a fuck? Like, what the fuck are you doing? like that's the hook for all of these fucking videos is like, someone looking surprised at a radio.
Turn my alarm off.
Someone looking fucking surprised at a radio, and then you click on it and it's like, they spend the first 10 minutes selling you shit, and it's just like,
Right.
get to the fucking point already. But
Yeah, I get so frustrated with that stuff because I'll go to the next video.
But the things you and I are talking about, Drew talks about, everyone that we've had on, a lot of these are kind of niche topics. And so it doesn't have like this broad appeal. So like those TRI radios, I've researched those. It's hard to find stuff on those.
It is very hard. And that's why I started making those videos on them, because there wasn't a lot out there. There was another guy, I can't remember his channel offhand. But he was making some really nice videos on them, which kind of inspired me to do it. You know, but this time of year for me, from May until September, October, I am so incredibly busy with my job, with my work.
You need to work for free and make free videos for people,
right?
No, I agree.
I'm just so exhausted by the time I'm out in the heat.
I agree with Wandering in the Wilderness. So you should make the videos. You have knowledge about the TRIs. I think you should make them. I had like Motorola radios. Like I've got a couple CDM 1250s. The one that helped me with those was Kurt. He doesn't have YouTube videos. He's just someone that we know, and it has a shit ton of experience with Motorola, and like he's the only one that I was able to go to. Like everything that I looked at online, whether it was a forum or a video, that's why I get mad at these fucking people with the stupid thumbnails and all the horse shit that they do to try and hook you, because I wasted so much of my time with that.
I want my 20 minutes back.
I wasted, and look, you know, I'm not complaining about the free hamburger, you know.
Right.
I don't want my money back on the free hamburger or anything, but goddamn it, like you wasted my fucking time on something that I thought was going to be very helpful,
video, and you never
and it ended. And I was trying to set these things up, you know, for a few different purposes, but it finally took talking to Kurt, who's like, "No, you just need this programming cable, and here's where you find the software."
Right.
I don't know how much time I wasted searching for this information. Now there are a couple websites that are very helpful on different models, the history of Motorola, all kinds of stuff. There's a few, I think Batwing something or other. They've cataloged a lot of that stuff, and it's really great information. But it's hard to find that stuff. Like now I know how to program these radios, and hell, I didn't know what programming a personality. So you have to set up like a personality, they call it, on like the Motorola.
Yeah.
Kurt could tell you a lot more about it than I can, but you know, like it's different than programming, you know, something through Chirp or whatever. And even when I programmed it, I had to take my programming information and give it back to him, and he had to fix a couple things for me because I'm like, I'm out of my depth with this.
Yeah. You know, and I left Motorola because I used to work for a Motorola service shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I left working for them, you know, back when they were just getting into these personalities and all this. So I don't know anything about it. My Motorola experience is with the Maxtrax and the Mocom 70s, and you know what.
And that's another thing is
we had Veritrax, but all the programming it was all done on DOS computers.
Well, so that's the other thing though, is that like, so these radios that I've got are from like the 90s.
Yeah.
It's hard to find information on older Motorola radios. The newer stuff you can find.
Right. The older stuff you can't. You got to have you got to find the rib box.
Yeah, you got to like know somebody. Yeah, like that was another thing. I have the rib box for programming. Turns out I didn't actually need that, but that thing's like $300.
Yeah.
For a real one.
For a real one, yeah.
And you had better hope you get the cables that work with it too.
Yes. Because it's all serial bus cables.
I have a group of guys I train with, and no one does or has comms, just guns and ammo. I have radios, just need to learn how to. Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, look, it once you get through all the firearm stuff, there's so much to learn there too. That's such a steep learning curve as well. I mean, radio's very similar. You just kind of have to. You really just have to start networking, talking to people, figure out what you know, who you want to communicate with and kind of go from there. But no, I feel you. I mean, it's, you know, sometimes you'll get in with like groups of people who are so like just immersed in just like firearms only that they don't really care about, you know, the comms part. I've had people that were really into firearms that wanted to learn about comms, and when it came to, you know, programming the analog radio on chirp, they're like, oh no, I'm not technical enough to learn that. My brain doesn't work that way. And it's like, no, you're fucking lazy and you're making excuses is what you're doing, and you're wasting my time. And I don't like that. You know, I don't like being asked about shit and then tell me you fucking can't, because if you can tell me all about night vision from a technical level and how all that shit works, you can figure out how to program something on chirp.
Exactly.
I don't want to hear that argument anymore.
You know, Randall from Grunt Proof did a live stream today with Jason from Monarch Minuteman.
Oh, okay.
And they were talking about training groups and stuff. And, you know, and a lot of the issue with training groups is all they want to do is get together and do LARPing shit and shoot. And they don't,
there's nothing wrong with that.
There isn't, but they don't want to do anything else. They don't want to learn they don't want to learn how to fix their toilet whenever,
yes,
you know, and stuff like that. They don't want to learn everyday skill sets.
I don't get mad at people that don't want to. That's not what upsets me. What upsets me is the people that will approach you, me, Drew, others that I know, want help with communications, and
they want us to do it all for them.
Yes, I'm not doing that.
No,
I'm not getting paid for that. That's not what I'm here for. I will share everything I know with you about comms, but I'm not going to hand it to you on a silver platter.
He's in the chat. I'm not going to say who it is or anything. I don't want to dox him, but he's coming up in 2 weeks for a day, just so I can go over communication stuff with them.
Yeah,
you know,
there's a guy.
I'm not the be all end all communications guy out there, but I want to share what I know. You know, and I want to be able to network. You know, I'm going to learn stuff from him. I'm 100% sure that I'll learn something from him, and I hope he learns something from me.
There's something to certainly learn from everyone, and you know, you just certainly have to be open-minded. But one of the better experiences I had making content on here is I did a video about how to basically make a poor man's repeater out of a couple of UV5Rs, and I connected them to a small little duplexer, and I showed like different configurations, a couple different ones, how to just connect them directly and make it work, and then connect it through a duplexer with a controller and stuff that I got. There was a guy, I won't throw his name out there because I don't know if he wants me to. I mean, it's public, but in the chat, but my favorite interaction out of all of them, because he couldn't get it to work and he messaged me. And so I jumped on a Teams meeting with him, and I helped him troubleshoot for like an hour, and we just chatted, and I'm like, well, here's what works for me. Here's the different wires that I use and all that stuff. The reason why it was, like, in my opinion, the best interaction that I've had is because he was genuinely curious, and he didn't expect me to do anything. He actually came to me and he was like, here's all the things that I tried. And I'm like, okay, this guy wants to know this.
He's legitimate, wants to know. Yeah.
And, you know, the stuff that he was trying from my video weren't working. And we were trying to figure out why. Turns out it was like, I think it was the radios he was using and just some other stuff, just some kind of like nuanced stuff. But I was even at the point where I'm like, I will send you the entire thing that I built on that video, the real one, and I will fucking send that to you, and you can have that and experiment it and try it out. It turns out he got his setup working, you know, left a really cool comment. He's like, hey, you know, I got it working and all of that. And I was, after that video, I was like, I can probably just stop now because I reached one person.
But no, don't ever stop.
And everyone communicates and learns differently. Yeah, you know, and that's another thing is that's why I try not to get too pissed off at people because, I have to remind myself that everyone does learn differently. Some people learn really well by reading stuff. I'm a person that I like to see it. I learn by watching.
See, I need to see it and do it. And I need to do it repetitively, especially when it comes to like computer stuff.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with computers.
I want to be a well-rounded asset, physical fitness, first aid, shooting, comms, gardening, hunting. Yeah. Be a Renaissance man. It's good to take that approach. I try to learn as much as I can too, and stop. Yes, it's good to be a lifelong learner. Look who showed up in the comments section. How's it going,
Drew? Drew is no longer AWOL. I guess he's AWOL from being here.
Well, he's working though.
In flesh. Yeah, I guess he is working.
He's actually legitimately saving people. So how the hell are you, sir? Oh.
Uh-oh.
That it's going that well, huh? Poor guy. Well, we talked about my experience, Drew, and he says, yeah, that good. And I told everyone how you were gracious enough to jump on a call with me to try and help that guy.
We also gave everybody Drew's OnlyFans account. So
yeah, you're going to get a lot new subscribers, dude.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's weird that you have the radios and the pictures with you, but whatever makes money, dude. Just feet pictures and radios. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's hitting the keypad. It's gross. Well, that sucks that you did not have a good time on that call or calls, whatever you've been on. So
he said he was going to a difficult call, I guess, earlier.
Whatever pays the bills. I'm not going to judge you.
$20 is $20.
It is, So, I mean, can't make that kind of money programming radios. We know that.
Right.
Lord knows people have tried, but yeah, I mean, overall, overall, the experience that I had was, things turned out. We're very lucky. Lucky it turned out the way that it did this time. I've certainly learned some things, and I'll certainly try and incorporate that into future planning. But
I remember when I lived out there, we had fires out in the mountains, and the one fire, and I can't remember the mountain range. It'll come to me, but it was out there to the west of the Stillwater. Maybe it was a Stillwater range, but it was to the west of Stillwater natural area. That was one of the fires that stuck out to me. But there's nothing out there. I mean, the Navy has a bombing range out there, and
I mean, there's a lot of open area to burn, essentially. Yeah.
Yes. So.
Well, even right now, I mean, a lot of what's on fire now, that's a lot of BLM land, definitely.
Right.
So you're not necessarily looking at homes, but the danger is all of that fuel to burn. And, this could certainly escalate into something much bigger, which I hope it does not. But,
and generally out there, everything blows from west to east, and there's really not a whole lot east and northeast of you.
But I mean, look at something that started out as a small fire that then turned into an acre and then 100 acres. And now it's up to,
look at some of these fires.
Almost 17,000 acres. That's
almost incomprehensible on how large that area is.
I mean, you're up to 20 at least with the Fred Mountain fire, and then all of the other ones that are going on. I mean, one other thing we get here is, during the winter, we'll get power outages because, that affects power lines and all that stuff. So you've got a couple things for us that we have to be, ready for. Certainly we all have, can be affected by earthquakes, but the two frequent ones would be, fires, not like this that I'm aware of. This seems like a lot. That's my perception, I guess. Maybe that's not reality, but it seems like a lot of fires. We've had a lot of fires that have been popping up the last month.
There was another fire that I remember. It was probably 1999, and it was in between Fernley and Reno. Remember where the Mustang Ranch used to be down there?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like in that area, and I actually have pictures of it. I'll have to dig them out. They're actually photographs on paper.
That's cool. They're not on your phone. Right?
They're not on my phone. No. Yeah. I'll have to dig them out and take pictures of them on my phone to send to you. But they had it was a pretty big fire up in the hills there. It was on the south side of 80, and I remember I got off the exit there, and I was just taking pictures. I remember.
It's crazy how quickly it spread. And Ground Fox says, "Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. We're not really, we're not saving the world over here with radio, but there's just, I don't know. It just seems like there's a need to share what you know. There's people that don't want to for one reason or another, and that sucks. But that's why I encourage everyone to go get your tech license so you can jump on some of these repeaters. I'm not saying you don't have to be part of ham radio culture if you don't want to.
You don't have to talk to Drew.
No, you don't. You don't have to talk to Drew at all. You don't have to talk to Lonely Hams on DMR on the internet or any of that stuff. It's and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking anyone that's into the hobby. I think that's fine. There's a lot of people who are hobbyists that are really smart and knowledgeable about radio that are great resources. But, I know that, ham radio's got a little bit of a culture problem. That's the elephant in the room, right? But, don't let that shit stop you.
No.
Don't fucking worry about all that stuff, You do have to pay me money to look at my feed. Well, of course. I mean, you don't spend all of that time keeping.
He gave me a free Patreon account. Did he give you one too?
No, I feel left out. That's weird. I don't want it though. I'm good.
I declined mine, but the gesture was very kind.
Oh, Patreon. I'm sorry. I thought you said OnlyFans.
Well, it was all of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I'm not going to shit on anyone for using Patreon and all that stuff. A lot of people do it. I mean, if you want to monetize and all that stuff, and
that's how people make their money, though, too.
Yeah, and you want to make the jump from just doing videos to being some content creator or whatever and make a living off of it. I'm not going to shit on anyone for making a buck. That's fine.
If by chance that I could ever make it in the YouTube world and be successful enough to support my radio habit and myself and through life and not have to shoe another horse in my life, I would be quite happy with that. But that's never going to happen. So
look who just showed up. Welcome,
there's this
sir.
big.
How much to take the shoe off?
I want you to take your socks off, buddy.
Oh, gross.
Gentlemen, it's been a day. How are you?
Well, we covered a wide range of topics, and we're doing okay. We're doing.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and watch. Text from my wife said I've lost count of how many times Terrence has said "fuck," so it must have been a good one.
Have I said it that I usually
a few times, but not that many, I don't think.
I usually try and church
I
it
should
up.
Probably not have that on. There we go.
I usually try and church it up for people, but fuck it. add another one to the jar, I guess. But no, I don't know. We were just talking about kind of like ham culture and stuff, and just not worrying about
what other people
not
think.
worrying about what other people think. And if you're thinking about getting your tech license, go do it. I mean, I'm sure there are probably a lot of people, Saturday and Sunday that were like, hey, I would have liked to have been able to
last year,
some of these
talking about getting
repeaters.
our people's tech license, I had a Signal group going, and it's partially my fault, because my time is so in the summertime is so limited. But I had a Signal group to where we would meet once a week or so, and we met a couple times. I would go through the tech book for people to get their technician license, and I would go question by question through however many was there 400 questions in the back of the book that they can pull from.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going question by question, reading the question, answering it, and actually explaining why that's the answer.
Dude, those Gordon West books, you can get them off Amazon. Go get the technician license book for anyone that's interested and read it. That's what I read when I first took mine. Like, I passed the test with that book. I read that book. It put it in everything in pretty good context. And then I took some those tests you can take for free at qrz.com.
Mm-hmm.
I passed the technician class by studying just those two things. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
I would do it by video call. That way I could pull up on the screen. I had everything downloaded in a PDF form, and I would bring it up on the screen and read the question, answer it, and explain why that answer was the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I think you need to have some context behind the answer.
Yeah, it's hard if you don't.
Even if you're only doing it just to pass the test to get your license.
Yeah.
Which most people do. But you'll understand. I think you have a better chance of passing the test if you kind of understand the context behind the question and the answer a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do forget what the actual answer is, you might remember a little something about the explanation as to why.
Well,
but I think
36 questions.
I think it was 50 for the tech. I don't remember. I really don't. But I think people lost.
Well, I think you had to get 36 right or 37 is what I'm saying. Out of 50.
Oh yeah, that might be it. But I think people lost interest in it. I didn't have the time. I couldn't commit a lot of time to it at the time, so it was kind of a lot of factors involved why I never went anywhere.
Yeah, so this is one that I have from way back when. 400 at the time, 423 question pool, and then I think you had to get like 37 right or something.
Right. Out of 50. Yeah.
So I'm trying to work with a group I think I've told you guys about this before, to connect area hospitals with backup radio communications. And we're going the shares route, which is a collection of HF frequencies that are licensed a little bit differently. And so you don't have to have an amateur radio or a specific license to use these frequencies, right? And so, that's fine. But what we're finding is that, the people who are doing the amateur radio stuff, right? Even if we're not going to use amateur radio frequencies for this emergency type of communication, there's no better way to get that experience, that experimentation, that knowledge, that learning, that education that just comes from tinkering around with radios and understanding propagation through challenging conditions. It's just a great way to develop those individual skills, even if you are going to use something that's public safety radio or this shares HF collection of frequencies. I think it's still worth it. I think it's still worth it, even if you're just going to do I don't know, Meshtastic or something, or MeshCore. If you're going to do something unlicensed like MERS, like you still get a ton of knowledge by just studying and tinkering with radio through the amateur radio bands and licensure levels.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Just the whole thing about just being naturally curious and experimenting is very important because that's where you learn the most, I think, and it's a lot of, I mean, radio is such a steep learning curve.
You guys go ahead.
The alternative is you could sign up for some sort of college course and pay a ton of money, develop those skills and learn that stuff that way. Yeah. So there's costs either way, your cost of your time and buying some radio equipment and passing a little test, or I guess you could go to college. I can't dedicate time to go to a college course right now. So I doubt many guys are in the same way.
I think people get a little intimidated by it. I mean, when I started doing this channel or my channel rather, I tried to stick to the basics because there's a lot of channels out there that talk about things that are so far over people's heads, like on a technical perspective that, I don't really expect like people that are just trying to get into this, that they're going to like, I'm going to go open up the FL Digi suite on my my laptop and connect my radio to it, and like all of that stuff's great. It's cool. I mean, it's neat stuff, but it's like that's too complicated for a lot of people.
And on any team, you're going to have tools that are usable by your lowest common denominator. And you're probably, anybody watching this, probably on your team, you're the only guy who has really any interest in comms. It's just not that common.
Right.
And so whatever you choose, whatever you go with is going to have to be designed to that, the person with the weakest technical skills to still be able to use. So yeah, of course.
And we were talking about that earlier, is a lot of the stuff that we talk about are kind of niche stuff, like incorporating Raspberry Pis into amateur radio is a niche topic.
It's complicated.
It is very complicated. All of it really kind of is. And I was being critical earlier of some of the people that do the dumb thumbnails with the surprised expressions about the newest, latest, greatest gadget that's come out, and it's like, that's fine if you're trying to sell radios, but I don't know that you're really teaching people a solid foundation. Like, I don't think you're teaching them like a, an SOP or any kind of philosophy that goes into it. Because I mean, all the tech stuff is good. Learning all the ins and outs and all of that on the technical side is fantastic, and you need that. But you need a little philosophy behind this stuff too, and that's where people's eyes tend to glaze over, unfortunately.
Sure. And then how do you make friends who want to play with you on the radio? How do you make friends who want to be on a team with you if you're overwhelming them?
Tell them you've got a brand new Kenwood with a shitty battery.
Or just make it simple. Make it psychologically simple for them.
The battery fucking sucks on this thing.
Oh no. Did you encounter that on your Fire?
Oh deployment? No, I knew that beforehand. I was telling Jared that I took my TYT this one, the MDUV 390. That's been my Huckleberry.
Sweet.
No, I like the Kenwood. It's cool. It does a lot of shit. It's just I'm not going to recharge this 8 times a day.
That's irritating.
Yeah.
Do they sell clamshells for that? AA clamshells?
I think so. I'm stubborn and I'm not going to buy one. I was looking for like a larger battery, but these batteries are expensive for this thing too.
What's your Kenwood radio do that most others don't?
It sits really expensively on my desk.
Is that the one that's APRS capable?
Yeah. And you can receive some HF stuff on this too, which is kind of cool. But
so I just got these BTEC UV Pros.
How are those? I haven't messed with any of those.
I haven't messed with it too much yet. I started messing with the programming because it's all, you do all the programming through it on your phone, through an app on your phone.
That's the thing that's changed over the past, 2 or 3 years too, is like, you can do that now. Like TID Radio is kind of cool. I messed with some of their stuff and you can program.
So the conspiracy theorist in me, with this app and this radio, it actually saves your voice communications on there anytime you key up.
On the radio or
on the app.
On the app. That's
so weird. Yeah, that'll probably just the conspiracy theorist in me, but
well, didn't that just happen to the British military?
And it's on
their drone boats.
It might have, but it's on the internet now.
Yeah, so it was.
Well, it's there for the feds to look at, and I'm not 100% comfortable.
Well, Jared, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about.
Fair. What are you, conspiracy theorist?
I know. Are you a conspiracy theorist, Jared? Jeez.
Yeah, maybe.
What are you doing that they would
but I got these radios to integrate with ATAC is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can get an ATAC plug-in or an offline phone, integrate this radio into it.
Yeah, I get you. It's the idea that you don't want anyone looking at your private shit.
Right.
It's not that you're doing anything. I get it. I don't blame you. I wouldn't like that either. I probably wouldn't mess with something that did that. Unfortunately, everything is connected through your toaster's connected to Bluetooth. Right. Just shit that doesn't need to be connected to the internet's connected to the internet.
So if I integrate this radio into ATAC, am I really off grid with it now at this point? Because I'm sure that app is saving it somehow that you don't know. I'm conspiracy theorist again. And is it downloading it to?
I mean, this is the whole argument with like DMR and stuff. It's like, is it really amateur radio? I mean,
well, DMR is all cloud-based through Amazon Web Services. So yeah, it's out there.
I mean, I think it's still amateur radio because you have to learn all the things that you need to learn about amateur radio to program it and stuff. Like that one, is it truly off grid if it connects through a cloud service or saves stuff to an app or whatever? Not while it's connected to the internet, no. But you can use it without the app, right?
You can't really program it. Yeah, I guess you can program it manually through the front, but there's no.
Does Chirp support that?
I don't think so. There's no CPS programming for it. It's all done
from it's analog, right?
Yes.
Well, let me look.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked.
Let me consult the interwebs.
If there was CPS programming for it, it would be different.
Just saw a video. It was one of the Radioddity radios, I think, that the CPS was sending off a lot of data to who knows where.
Somebody.
But this guy had the ability to look at what it was shipping off over the internet without your knowledge.
Who's to say that the CPS programming isn't shipping off this information?
This is going to be a real problem during Red Dawn, guys.
It is.
All right, so is it a BTEC or a Bofang?
BTEC.
And it's a UV what?
UV Pro.
UV Pro.
I haven't even taken the screen protector off of it yet.
I see
Let me do that. You ready?
Oh, now you've ruined it.
There it is.
Now you can't sell it. Now you can't sell it on the internet for.
Maybe I could put it back on.
I'd put it back on. That way you can get top dollar for it.
Well,
I don't see a UV.
Fingerprint's going to be underneath it now, though.
I don't see a UV Pro on the Chirp website. I see like 5001, 5X3.
Sometimes those on the Chirp programming, one radio model that's on the list will cover a couple different ones, and it's not always
I see under Bofang, because I know sometimes that stuff's a little interchangeable. I don't see anything for a Pro. There's a lot of different model numbers.
Right.
All right, I gotta run. I can't hang out much longer, but I'm gonna watch the live again here and get learned up on all the lessons that you learned from your.
We're gonna learn you good. You're gonna be learned real good.
No, I appreciate your willingness to share those lessons that you learned through your experience.
You should have an influx into your OnlyFans now, so you should be able to retire from your.
Dude, you're gonna make
some real money finally.
Much money on feet pics.
Right. Especially that's actually my call sign, baldguyfeetpics.
Have you been losing weight?
That actually sounds real scary enough.
Yep.
Have you lost weight, Drew?
Yes, lots. Working really hard on it.
You look really good.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Skinnier.
Yeah.
It's been a slog here. Everything below 180 has been a slog, but we're going to get there.
Keep at it.
Anyway, thanks for noticing. All right, see you guys.
Yep, be safe, buddy.
Yep.
So I didn't see anything for that on Chirp, and I'm looking on RT Systems, and it doesn't look like it's available for the UV Pro either.
Yeah. RT Systems is good, but it's very much amateur radio based. They don't let you do much outside of the amateur radio realm with RT Systems.
Not for this radio, they don't.
No.
Yeah, they
actually.
Yeah, like if you wanted to program it for like LMR frequencies, like if you're, let's say you get your LMR license and all that stuff, and then you want to program it, you're better off with just the manufacturer's software, CPS, because they have a thing in there about encryption and all that stuff, which
you have your LMR
for LMR. I'm gonna try. I was thinking about. I was fixing to think about getting it. I haven't quite gotten there.
I've thought about it years ago. About once a year, I start thinking about it.
Yeah. And
then the other day, I was thinking about it again, and I just need to do it.
The reason I was thinking about doing it was, you can get either a simplex or a repeater frequency that you can encrypt, or both.
Right.
With that license, there's no like test or anything. I think you just go through like an FCC frequency coordinator to do it, and you've got to be a corporation. You have to have a business and all that stuff.
Two of them, so.
But I was thinking about it because I was like, well, I've come across people in the past, churches and just other stuff that were like asking about it, and I was like, well, I guess I could probably show you how to do it, but I'd need to go through the process first to do all that so I could legitimately do that, but. I'm not looking to make that a business, so whatever. Maybe I'll do it.
Maybe I'll make that part of my business if I ever get my 2Alpha Solutions business off the ground. Get off my ass to get it off the ground.
And you should do those videos. I mean, don't I get a little discouraged too, because like I said, a lot of this stuff is kind of niche and it doesn't always have like a broad market appeal to people, especially when you're not if you're not monetized either, like, none of us are, like, we don't really care about that kind of stuff, but like we're only really motivated by the excitement of doing this.
Right. There has to be some kind of driven force behind it.
Well, I mean, that's why I like that Jeep video that I did where I set up all my comms. I'm like, this is going to be my last long form one, just because I'm like, I'm not necessarily burned out on content, but I don't know. Like for me, I kind of lose motivation because, the greedy part of me is like, not enough people watch this for me to be like, yeah, I want to keep doing this.
Right.
So, it is what it is.
And like I said, my problem is I'm so exhausted, tired when I get home. I don't have the motivation to do anything.
Yeah. I was also doing a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know how many podcast episodes I'll do. I'll do maybe like 2 or 3 more, and then I'll just kind of let that.
No, keep making them because I have windshield time, 3 hours of windshield time every day.
Every time I'm like, I'm going to quit. Someone's like, you should keep making those. I'm like, no. Well, I'll make 3 more. Maybe we'll see. I made a whole list like 2 years ago of all the topics I wanted to cover. And I'm like at the end of that list now. And I have 3 more to do. And then I was going to wait and see if I wanted to keep doing it.
I was thinking, and I never told you this, but I was thinking an idea for you. Do you watch the YouTube channel Uncanny Adventures?
Mm-mm.
You need to look him up. He goes down to like Area 51 and all these like secret places down there.
Yeah.
And does videos. And it's really, they're like adventure type videos, and he does a lot of
I like
Goes
that
out
stuff. It's
on foot.
cool.
I do too. I think you should do that because you're in a great position out there. Not necessarily you have to go to Area 51 and do, but there's so much land and there's so many ghost towns out there that it would be right at your doorstep. That would be a really good thing for you to go out and do. And you have such a great demeanor and a way of talking that you could do the voiceovers on it and everything else, and it would be really good content for you to do.
I think my problem is I like too many things. And like that sounds like a awesome thing to do. Like I
and you got your RV now and you can go take that out on these adventures. I was just thinking of more things for you to get involved in.
I was well, that's why I was scaling back a little bit, because I was like, well, I'll probably stop the long form YouTube videos. I'll throw out some shorts and stuff every once in a while, but I mean, at this point, it's probably just going to be live streams every once in a while when I have something to talk about.
Right.
And then I'm trying to knock out like another book and edit that, and it's slow going. And I've got probably one more that I want to write, and then I'll probably stop. Because I'm not sure how much more stuff I'll have to cover in a literary sense. And I still post articles on the website and stuff. So I mean, I'm still doing a lot. It's just, when you're trying to add like a long form video and stuff frequently, it wears you out.
I'm gonna come out there. I'm either gonna fly out or drive out at one point, and I'm gonna kidnap you, and we're gonna go out to Fairview Peak, and we're gonna do a long form video.
You got it.
Video out there.
If you come out here, I will do a long form video with you, and it'll be a quilt of how many ever hours we're gonna spend out there. That's a cool area. I mean, when I went to Dixie Valley, I really. That was an opportunity to test the antennas on my Jeep, and then I was like, I want to go see some tanks.
Yeah,
that was cool. Like, because there's I found two. They're hard to find. You would think a tank would be easy to spot, and it's not.
Especially out in the open like that.
It's out in the open, and it's hard to see.
Yeah,
you would think that you'd just be driving, and you'd see it off in the no. I had to drive
probably within a half a mile before you could see it.
Yeah, I had to drive the roads to search for this thing. The one I was looking for, I didn't even find it first. The one that has Wolverines painted on it. I threw some pictures of it on YouTube and Instagram, but the one that's got Wolverines on it's the one I was looking for, because I'm like, well, that's cool. I came across another one that's like tan colored first, and I stumbled across it driving down the trails, and I was like, oh shit, there's a tank there. And I checked that one out, and then I'm like, where is this? Like, had I gone there and not found the Wolverines tank, it would have been a failure.
Right.
But a little bit further away, about half a mile away, I found it.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff out there.
There is. And even that little town, the ghost town of Fairview, which is down below Fairview Peak, down in the little foothills there. I was down in that area years ago when I lived out there.
Right.
And I don't know if you can get to that anymore.
I think it's a mining town, right? Or
it was an old mining town from like the early 1900s.
Yeah.
But I remember driving out there with a buddy of mine at the time when we were in the Navy out there. And we drove out to it. And there was an old bank vault that sat out in the middle of the desert there.
Oh,
but it's kind of along the same route, that it's in the same valley that the bombing range is in.
Right.
And I think they have it all closed off now. From what I can tell from Google Street View when I look out there,
right,
it doesn't look like you can get to it anymore. But I could be wrong.
Twin businesswoman says hello. Hello. Welcome. Yeah, I drove around there and searched for that damn thing, and took me a little while to find it. I brought
the tank.
Yeah, binoculars with me and everything. I was going to try and hit Fairview Peak and then do that. And then I was like, I probably don't have enough time in the day. What in the fuck is this? Is this spam?
It's like a bot, maybe.
Yeah. You can hang out in the chat, but you do anything stupid and you're gone. But yeah, this looks like spam or a bot. I knew when I saw Twin Business one, I'm like,
yeah,
Yeah. See, that's what happens when you start talking about OnlyFans. They show up in the chat.
They show up.
Yeah.
Maybe it's actually probably Drew's OnlyFans account.
Oh, is that you, Drew?
That's actually Drew talking to us.
Fucking Drew. That's why he had to go. Yeah, you're not working on fucking calls. Yeah, you're not working for the fire department. You're trying to hawk your feet pics. That's what you're doing. Well, whatever pays the bills, I guess, right? Whatever pays the bills. Is that a real rifle, do you guys think, on the wall back there on the American flag, or do you think that's an image?
What's that?
I was just asking, those in the chat, like, is that a real rifle mounted to the wall behind you, or is that an image on the flag? I see.
It is a real rifle.
It just looks all black to me, so I couldn't tell.
Yeah, well, it's dark in here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
But there's another real rifle in the background too. So.
Yeah. I see. I see that one. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, if I can, no, I was trying to hit Fairview Peak the same day and make just one whole video, and I was like, shit. Like,
yeah, Fairview Peak's gonna be like a whole day trip in itself.
Well, yeah, because I was researching it. I'm like, there's like a whole trail you can drive up to the top,
Yeah,
and then you can hike.
That long to get up to the top when you're driving, because you could drive the whole way up there.
But then you have to walk. Don't you have to walk at some point to the other like little ruins or whatever they've got up there?
To like the old mining town?
Well, I think there's a mining town below, but there's some kind of ruins or camp or something at the top, isn't there?
I don't think so. There's a big communications tower up there.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, but you can drive the entire way up to that.
What was a trip is driving around, like Dixie Valley is interesting, but like when I was walking through that, I think it was like an F-18 or something that was like,
oh yeah,
flying really low. Is like
there.
Yeah,
so
it was like
north of Highway 50 up there in Dixie Valley. That's their electronic warfare range.
Yeah.
The valley south of it, which I'm going to call Fairview Valley, that's actually their live ordnance range. So you could be up on top of Fairview Peak, where the communications towers are up there, and actually watch them drop live ordnance down in the valley.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was a little paranoid because I'm like, I was looking for that tank and I saw this, like, I think it was an F-18 because that's what the Navy has, right?
Yeah.
And so, I was flying kind of low. I'm like, wonder if I should leave. Because I'm like right next to this tank, and then but no, it's an interesting area. It's a little spooky. When I drove in, they actually had I think it was the Navy, but they had like little command posts set up, and like
they have a big compound out there where they run the electronic warfare range.
Yeah, they had
on Google Earth.
Well, they had a fence around. It looked like containers that they had out there, and those were set up as offices or whatever they work out of. And then next to that, they had a bunch of, and I didn't take pictures of that because I'm like, well, I'm not going to press my luck with that. But next to that, they had a bunch of old vehicles and stuff that were decommissioned that were kind of cool that I took pictures of.
So when I was out there, they had a Russian radar station that they captured from somewhere that's actually functional.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they use that a lot. I don't know if it's still there, if they even use it anymore.
There's a bunch of stuff out there
for the electronic warfare range, to train the Navy pilots or whatever pilots were coming out there.
No, it was cool.
It was actually like Russian made radar, which their radar signatures, they're all specific to whatever type they have.
That's cool. Yeah, because like as soon as I turned down that dirt road, so Fairview is on my right on like the 50 or whatever I'm on, and I turned left, that's where they had like a little post with just some containers that were like offices with a little fence around it. And then I kept driving, and on the right is this like compound, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
and like
there's a helipad out there too. I think
I didn't see that. That's cool.
Yeah, which I think is just on the outside of the compound, the big fenced off area.
But when I was out there, I was like, man, if I don't have cell phone coverage or something, I might be in trouble because there's no repeaters that I could hit. There's a repeater that I found that was like a peak over, but I'm like, I don't have line of sight. So
I'm pretty sure there used to be a repeater on Fairview Peak.
Is there? Okay, I could have hit that one then.
I mean, this was in the 90s when I was out there, so
there may be one out there. I for some reason I didn't think there was, and I was like, I'll have to rely on HF, so I brought my HF rig with me. But maybe there is. I'll have to look. I don't remember. But
yeah, and it might not be anymore for all I know.
We have made it to almost 3 hours, and
That's
I've
crazy.
got
For an impromptu.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. We did good.
Impromptu live stream.
Too bad Drew couldn't join and hang out longer, but that's okay. But thank you to everyone in the chat that jumped on to hang out with us. And I know this was kind of a long one. I didn't think we'd go this long, but that was cool. It's been a while we have, but I don't know. Anything you want to wrap up with?
I'll make videos again someday.
Yeah, you should. You should.
I will. I just gotta get past this busy section of my summer. I do have some trips coming up. I have to go to Texas in middle of September for a One Shepherd event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little tactical thing.
Cool.
Then I come back from that, and a couple weeks later, I go out to California for another tactical event for Grunt Proof that he's hosting out there. It's not the SEER challenge this year. It's a little bit different, but
Are they not doing that this year?
They're not doing the SEER challenge anymore. No.
Oh, how come?
Just loss of interest. I think loss of viewership. There wasn't as much viewership the last 2 years. Yeah,
that's surprising. I would have thought that
the first 3 years were really good. The fourth year was kind of things I think kind of waned off a little bit. So
the premise is that you've got, is it teams of guys that are out there?
It's different every year. So the one we did just this past year in 25 was a really big event. We had a lot of people there, probably 30 people. It was a team event, but we weren't really doing it for YouTube. We were just doing it to have fun.
That's how all the cool stuff starts out.
Yeah. In the past, it was all done for content, but it just progressed and run its course, I think. And he's just trying to change it up a little bit to keep interest in.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair.
Yeah. So he's
doing. I mean, no sense in keeping something going if.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for the sake of it.
Right.
I get it.
It was fun, and maybe we'll continue it later on down the road. But that's his call. That's his deal.
Yeah. No, it seems like a cool thing.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, cool.
But trying to even get contestants for it was difficult at times.
Really, because it seemed like a lot of people
participated
and were interested in it.
Well, I mean, we went out and recruited people for it a lot of times, and but he would reach out to especially some of the bigger name people and just would never get any kind of response. So we just figured these big name YouTubers that like to talk their shit are just gay and they don't want to come out and actually show that they can actually do it in real life.
They can't prove that they can really do it. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's probably true for some of them. I mean, not everyone wants to do that, I'm sure, either. But but I don't know. It is kind of interesting that to see people that are on YouTube that actually do this stuff. That actually put their skills to the test.
Right.
I think that is cool. But
and that's what got me into YouTube is I never had a YouTube channel really until I went to this SEER challenge.
Oh, you started it after that?
Yeah. Really? I had a channel and I think I don't know, I had one stupid video that it was never even published. And so I started doing just dabbling in it. I don't have great content, as you know, but that's what really
I don't either.
Oh, yours is 1,000 times better than mine. But that's what got me interested in it. That Randall and Brent and Stoker, they all encouraged me to kind of do my own channel. And
I always feel bad. There's a guy C103 that jumps on the lives and the chats, and he's like, "Oh, I binge watched all of your episodes," and I'm like, "I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I feel like I should apologize."
I don't want to say I binge watch your episodes, but I watch a lot of them because I drive and I'm lonely and I just need to hear your voice.
Because there's times where I'm like, I'll make a video, I'm like, people aren't going to get that one.
Seriously, I drive so much that I watch other people's content too.
Yeah.
But I have an hour and a half drive one way.
That is a long time.
It is, and it just gets boring. So
well, the podcast I made's like I think it's an hour. The last
one.
Yeah, the most recent one. Yeah.
Actually, I think I listened to that here while I was working in the shop last weekend.
Sometimes it's good to just have background noise,
Yeah. But yeah, someday here soon I'll start making videos again.
Yeah, you should.
I'll get off my ass and do that. And
even just looking behind you, you've got so much stuff back there that you could.
Yeah.
You could probably talk for.
Let me see.
You probably make a lot of videos out of all the stuff.
See if I can get my camera to stretch over there, but I have all these radios.
Yeah.
Can you see? I don't know. Can you see it all well enough?
Yeah.
It's a mess right now, but
well, even just the way that you have everything wired and set up, like people don't talk about that stuff.
I'm gonna end up selling those. I don't ever use those amplifiers.
Yeah.
So, but there's.
I know everyone wants to talk about the latest gadgets, but
there's Yoda hanging out with me.
Yeah, it's a good pup.
He just lays in here with me.
Yeah, my dog. He's somewhere around here. Probably hanging out with my wife. He likes her better anyway. I don't know. They always follow the women around. I don't know why. They always follow the females.
I don't know. This one here doesn't leave my side for nothing.
Really?
Even when I'm at appointments at all these different barns, he'll go off on his own for a little while. The places I can't let him run. But every 5-10 minutes he comes back and checks in, and he disappears for another 5 or 10 minutes and comes back. And
I always thought in my situation it was kind of a matriarch thing where they follow, the female around, but because she gives them treats and all that stuff. But I'm gonna have to have a conversation with my dog now after hearing your experience.
Right?
Like, what the fuck?
So Yoda is so in tune to what I do throughout the day at work, especially at work, that he knows the difference if I'm moving my shoeing box from one leg to the next leg,
right?
Or if I'm actually done with that horse and getting ready to take it back to its stall or whatever.
I'd be afraid that one of those things would kick me.
No, they don't really. They do. They can.
Right. But if they're like feeling ornery or something.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a pain thing too.
Ground Frog says, I would absolutely do it. Getting time off work and bills are a challenge. I wouldn't do well, but I'm willing to suffer. So I think he's talking about the SEER challenge.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what. So maybe instead of
making videos.
I think he means the SEER challenge.
SEER challenge.
Maybe that's the thing to do is get people from, YouTube, like people that are like fans or whatever that like the SEER challenge. And
that's where most of them came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I don't know that getting like it's hard to even get like someone who's a YouTuber as like a guest to be on.
Yeah.
Which I get it. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Their prerogative.
Yeah. But I don't know. I like having people who have smaller channels on as guests anyway, just because, if you've got like 10,000 people or 100,000, you don't really need a shout out.
Right. Yeah. We had that one big name guy on last year. Ryan Macbeth.
Yeah. He was cool, and
I think he was kind of annoyed with us. I don't know, but
it was cool that, it's cool that someone with that many followers was like, okay, I'll come on your small channel.
Right.
And that's fine.
No, I'm very grateful that he did, because
I am too. Yeah. I thought that was
there, and he gave us really good insight and really good information. And
I thought that was nice of him. I mean, probably wasn't like his favorite.
He's
just because
he's on Fox News, for God's sake, and he
well, that's what I'm saying. Like talking,
he comes
to us
on
probably,
here and he answers my emails and answers my text messages, and
Well, that's what I was saying is like, coming on here probably wasn't a, he was like, whatever, but because he does go make the rounds on Newsmax and Fox and all that stuff, and he has bigger fish to fry. So but that was.
But I thought it was really awesome of him
nice
to make the time to come on and give us the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very nice. I tried to throw as many good questions at him as I could, but and it's stuff that all of us were genuinely curious about anyway. But no, that was super nice they did. But I mean, aside from his channel, he's kind of an exception because he's got like what, 500,000 or 1 million? No, he's got 1 million, doesn't he?
I think he's over 1 million now.
Yeah, he's over 1 million now. He's got 1 million followers. I mean, usually people with there's people with like 5,000 followers that won't give you the time of day.
Yeah. Which is fine.
They've made it.
They made it. They made it big.
They're going to start living off that YouTube money. But well, we better jump. But thanks for doing an impromptu. And
yes, sir,
Drew,
thank you. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it with the storm because the power was going.
Yeah, I was wondering about
that the whole time when we were messaging there. I'm like, oh. But
well, I've been on
being a whole lot of nothing.
I've been on pins and needles here because I don't like. When I was driving in today, there were still spot fires going on behind the house. I'm like, I wonder if this is going to happen again, or or if the wind's going to shift and it's going to be a thing. But so far, so good. But for those of you out there who are thinking about getting into comms, do it. Don't wait.
Reach out to us.
Sure. Jared will answer all of your questions and make all of your dreams come true.
I'll
watch. Thank you, sir. Thanks to everyone in the chat. And then we'll wrap up the show, I guess. I think I'll wrap up the show.